We're starting. We started. This is episode 22 of the PlusOne podcast. The boys that plus one, featuring a missing. Just pretend there's an easy and an iron here hiding in the bottom of the screen. I could add them in, but it would involve effort. This is Keepers of the Flame. It's a 3.27 patch, which is a league patch, a non-expansion patch, although it does have some expansion qualities to it because there's many base game implications with this patch, since we have a league replacing a league, and then
it's quite big in scope, bigger than
I
expected.
It doesn't the content doesn't seem huge as far as like what we're gonna do if you just did the league and you didn't deviate from your sentences might feel pretty similar at times, but there's obviously lots of possibilities because you have multiple forms of expression for that, which is going to be the bloodline ascendancies, which we have all but one from, and those are ascendancies that are additional ascendancies locked behind quote unquote endgame bosses, and they use our real pool of points. Then we also have Foulborn uniques, which is going to be an unknown level of cracked, maybe like think Scourge, think Crucible, could be some wacky tobacco stuff going on there. So I slapped together just some talking points that we'll probably just ignore the order of and just keep going, but which is pretty normal. But I guess we'll start with Legi because he's got the freshest voice. What are your first thoughts from seeing the Keepers of the Flame reveal stream and such?
Well, since you talked about Blood Ascendancy, I must first mention that you didn't say a word minion, so I'm very disappointed, Lighty.
It's true.
You didn't say minions in how you expressed about it,
It's all minions.
Yourself about it, so, I am disappointed indeed. But except that point, I'm super excited to actually play the league, honestly. Like, I had absolutely rock bottom expectations for this league, being honest with you. I was like, okay, this is gonna be like complete filler, whatever they're gonna put out, and is like, okay, just survive, guys. Survive until PoE2, and then, then we're gonna have something. But I've been positively surprised, I have to say. Very, very positively surprised. Like, the Breach 2.0 looks absolutely hype. Honestly, I think it looks really good. Like, has many different avenues of like interacting with it. You get the citadels, you get like different types of breaches. You can like, have some agency while interacting with the breaches to like spawn the additional like spawners, or like, have those little clickable things that change your experience, and you can decide how you interact with it, which is cool. So yeah, mostly positively surprised, I would say. And as Manni said, it's like the scope is much higher than I expected. Definitely.
Nice. It's good. Manni, how about yourself? How you feeling?
Yeah, Legi mentioned pretty much most of my thoughts already. Yeah, I expected this to be a pretty small league, really, with PoE2's last league being delayed already, and they're sticking to their 4-month schedule. I really expected nothing and got positively surprised for sure. And I hope this starts a trend of them reworking old mechanics. Like, maybe not reworking is the right word. It's really just expanding upon them, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, I'd much prefer them to expand on old mechanics like Legion, Abyss, Breach, and build upon them than just add another new thing and another NPC and another side area, and it's just getting too much, right?
Yeah, I have to say that I was like so surprised because there was an interview with Mark after the release, I think like a day or two ago, and like Mark said they really didn't want to do the like sequels, updates on Link Back, and it was like super surprising because like we always ask about Harbinger 2.0, Blight 2.0, Heist 2.0. Everyone wanted that, right? So okay.
Yeah, I think it depends. Like, Breach is one of those leagues that is universally loved. So I think they can't go wrong with Breach 2.0. Like, if the PoE player base hears Breach 2.0, they're probably just logging in, right? But
yeah,
controversial ones like Blight or Heist, I'm not so sure if they can label it Heist 2.0 and have people be excited. They would probably have to call them something different and maybe mix multiple leagues together or something along those lines.
Definitely the ones that you just kill stuff in a map, I think, are the ones most people like. We don't have to actually go do another thing or have a departure from the normal game space. So I'd imagine like Harbinger would be a really good contender.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's
Harbinger is
just,
like a prime.
I mean,
Abyss
even the
as well, like
shards
one
are
league.
really not updated. There's like no divine shards. There's no shards for a lot of currencies. And there's just the lore just dropped off. We don't, there's a language, but what does it mean? There's no real boss. There's like a unique map that no one really does. It's just kind of super archaic. But I could even see, considering the PoE2 stuff, that next league we get Abyss updated, because it just seems like they just did all that. It would be just easy. And then also Edifice is dead, so that was like the last hurrah for Abyss mapping, as it being like redonkulous, you know. So I could see something like that for sure as a sequel league.
That was exactly my first thought.
Yeah,
With the Abyss 2 content they have in PoE 2, the all the assets they have for how
sure.
Abyss looks over there, and the framework, I feel like it would be very lazy and easy to just
Oh yeah,
make an Abyss 2.0 league.
but that's
in
kind of
3.8.
always been the plan. I mean, I would say that. Well, that even goes back to when they updated Beyond. I mean, there was no way that the Beyond Scourge models were initially PoE1 stuff. It was for sure slated for PoE2. And I would even take it a step further. I wouldn't be surprised if when we get Acts 5 and 6, there's going to be one of them is like very Scourgey, Beyondy based, just based off of that those models have been in the game for so long. So
yeah, true.
yeah, I could definitely see that happening. So amongst the Keeper League, the breach school, whatever the hell they were saying, I can't remember the exact words. There's some new additions to it. It's like very much is still just kill shit in a circle and then do a boss sometimes, and that's a thing. But a big through line for this is the Genesis tree, which is another tree inside of a tree. It was giving me big Weaver tree vibes, honestly, from LE when I was looking at some of the stuff in there. Which, not a surprise, not the first. I mean, this is good. That's every ARPG is looking at every other ARPG now, especially since there's, competition to a degree. So that's going to be a thing. And then it just, so it's just like a combination of that. But it really looked to me like necrocrafting. That's the first thing I thought when I saw the trees being set up, was like, oh, everything's just, 1,000% more likely to do this, whatever, do that. It's like you're not quite generating items, but you're close to like deterministic generation, which is fine. Necro was so absurd. For those who haven't played it, it was like pretty horrendous to work with, and there was huge chunks of the league mechanic that people just didn't interact with, as far as like the corpse types was like a kind of massive miss, I feel like, on there was like some corpses were tagged as demons and other and it's just like no one, I don't say no one really did that, but it was definitely the most not used part of that mechanic. But filling up the graveyard, it was a lot of the bad stuff, I would say, that PoE leagues can have, which is like way too many items to pick up, no storage, really clunky stuff. And it looks like this is a system where it might yield a similar result, but it has none of the clunk, because it's all being, pun intended, handled by the handy upgrade graphs that are just kind of sucking up all the currency, and you just do it all in one spot, which seems just like, and that's like a great evolution of that sort of system. So what do you think, Legi, about the Genesis tree and this sort of thing with the league?
I have to say I wholeheartedly agree with you. Like it like so much less clunk than Necro, and it's like not completely deterministic as we, that's what we think, at least for now, like from first impressions, because Necro, like if you knew what you were doing, like late game after like all the buff patches and balance patches, you could just print perfect items and then make some ridiculous stuff, right? But yeah, this looks very very fun to interact with, honestly. I have to say, like it's very varied. You have the the Fileborn stuff baked in the tree as well, too. Like obviously we're gonna talk about it later, like in depth, right? What can we get there? But like you can get 5 link, 6 link for your leveling campaign, league start stuff. You can decide which kind of gear you want to go for. It's just quite good, and I really like the interaction between like the league mechanic itself in mods like Breach, and then once you just kill monsters, it's the core part of ARPG experience. Just go into the zone, kill the monsters, and just the bar fills up, and you can utilize it instead of like millions of cumbersome, awful corpses popping into your inventory, and like you have to click up everything. It was terrible compared like in Necropolis.
It's a good omen. It's like a good omen because it is truly hard to complain about that. That experience being modified in this way. I don't know a single person who is like, man, this is cool and all, but I would love to micromanage and store 20,000 little items I have to manually pick up. Like that's, there's a lot of things that are quintessentially path, and not all of them are good. And this one, that sort of thing this is the good example of steering away from a cumbersome, system. Manny, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, definitely a much better system than Necropolis was, but it also looks to be magnitudes less powerful on first glance, at least, because there doesn't seem to be a way to actually pick the base type. It's more like I can make it more likely to birth a sword or a body armor, but we're not going to be able to pick exactly the spine bow base, for example.
Yeah,
which makes it. I can't see how it will ever be useful for certain crafts then, where you need exactly the right type of base. Like, you can never craft a physical bow when you get a random base, because 90% of the time you're going to get a useless one, right?
It really, to me, reeked of, like, making a ton of recombinator bait, because you could just use this plus recombinating.
Yeah.
And kind of, but it's, it's an extra step. I guess that's the price we pay for having it be so much less detailed and complicated. But I do agree. It's like, imagine you get a 6 T1 fizz and it's on a short bow. You're gonna jump.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there is some way to actually narrow the base down more that we haven't seen yet.
Sure, could
maybe they're gonna end up editing it later when people complain too much about it. Because I mean, no matter what, it definitely seems like an insane tool for making some early gear in the league.
For sure.
But will it be useful to make the perfect endgame stuff that the veterans are hunting?
Yeah,
doesn't look like that on first glance, but we'll see.
And
I don't think it's the point of the system, right? At least from what I understand, right? Is like interact with it, like get some gear or like get recombinator bait, because at the end of the day, like end game gear is crafted through recombinator, like a very late game like options, right? Instead of this, right?
You're right, but they have to find a middle ground. Like, if the mechanic just becomes irrelevant after the first weekend or something, that's not really, what we want either. So some middle ground, hopefully they fit the balance just right, where it becomes relevant but doesn't take over completely.
There's 5 branches, really, right? Hard. So if like one of the branches is used for crafting rares, for example, then
that is true.
That is the middle ground, is that people who you kind of progress through the tree as you yourself progress through the league. So it's like you use it to craft rares the first couple of days. And they're like, okay, I've got my rares now. I need fragments for endgame progression through bossing. You then use the fragment portion. And then like, okay, I've done that. Now I'm looking for Foulborn Unique. So it, in a way, it might have its own natural progression, just as because it doesn't just make rares, right? It does a little bit of everything, and then it does something mysterious, as they said, which whatever that means. But yeah, so it's like even if you tapped it for the most of its potential for crafting B+ tier rares or like pre-endgame stuff, you're still gonna be utilizing it to just make, as they say, an engine of unholy creation, to just poop out currency or whatever to fund your actual crafts.
I mean, as you were saying, like Foulborn stuff, like the Foulborn currency is literally
it's greater. It's just the same PoE2 stuff.
Greater and perfect stuff. Yeah. Like that's the way of them integrating that in PoE1, and like the uniques with like Scourge Foulborn modifiers, that that is the end game, I would say. So
yeah,
I think like the flexibility of like between early gear progression into late game, like build enabling uniques and like currency and stuff, right? And the mysterious things,
It's not a direct one-to-one, but coming off of Merc League, we were absurdly powerful. I'm not sure if it's the most powerful we've ever been, but in many cases it may have been that for certain builds, for sure. And And now we kind of, with Mercs gone, we have the closest thing, I guess, to replacement as an in-game augmented asset is the graphs, right? We have 2 different graphs we can get. Well, 2 different slots, I guess, for graphs, and they're non-scalable. For those, it's been mentioned in the patch notes, and it's insanely obvious if you just read, but they are non-scalable because some of them, as shown in the video, had 400,000 top end damage. Little hands that do things, but some of them do, debuffs and buffs and whatnot. Is there any of the graphs you guys are particularly looking forward to, or things you've seen that interest you, or is it just going to be the fact that they collect the currency and then they make the womb gifts for the tree better? Like Legi, is there any of these that you looked at that you like, or?
I did look at them like before the podcast because there was like some video from I think from CGD, I think, and there was like some of them that you could do some like trigger builds and stuff like that. But like the one that I looked into was like pretty much like they were lucky lightning damage with like just the passive part of it, and like lucky lightning damage over like the new ground or whatever. I don't remember the name of the ground. That looked really good to me as an attack enjoyer usually. So that was the one that's cool power wise. But like there is some interesting ones that can pop up as well. I think there's one that gives you like covered in ash as well. So those are big like board power things. It's not too bad at all.
Yeah,
I mean, lightning damage lucky for me at least.
I think the leveling seems pretty interesting. Also, I mean, I'm sure it'll be a pretty big spike of power early on. From what I saw, from even the low level ones were doing, one-shotting rare damage while you're like level 12. So that'll be fun, just to have them with you. Something I saw people mention that I actually don't know if they answered. I didn't see it in the FAQ, but the FAQ is incredibly sparse, so it doesn't have much in there. Whether or not they're going to be hideable, because they visually on your character, like for MTX, I have no idea. I didn't see an answer for that, but people have been asking frequently because they just don't want to have 2 hands out their backs.
They don't like hands out of their back?
Yeah, I guess not. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure we'll get the data mine on the full suite, as we hit up the league. So on to one of the big things, one of the biggest question marks, I would say, is the Foulborn stuff. We simply don't know what the vast majority of the Foulborn items do, or if any of them are going to be, super great. But we do know that they were all manually added. There's, I believe it said at least 100, and there's going to be adding more. I don't remember where it was mentioned, but yeah. So we're going to have a big chunk of them. None of them will be from league-specific content or boss content. That was confirmed. Outside of Breach.
Other than old Breach.
Yes, Breach and base game uniques. That's what you're going to get. So there might be a Mage Blood, there might be a Headhunter, or there might not be. But there won't be things, like a Theory's Disfavor. Like that won't be in there. So they're supposed to be replacing or have the ability to replace a modifier that is non-essential to making that unique. That was the kind of wording they used. So for example, S's Visage, the whole thing about chaos damage bypassing, like that could never be removed, right? Because that's what, or that, I guess I'm assuming that's what this item has tagged as the makes it unique. So then everyone obviously thinks, all right, what uniques are in the base game that if we removed a downside to it could be absurd. Some of the examples people thought of were things like Emberwake, that you remove the downside of like the massive less damage multiplier, and it's a ring that, just says get an additional ignite, which is doubles your damage kind of. So,
but isn't that basically what makes it unique? That downside?
I don't know. Well, that's the question, right? I would say that's less unique than it being get an additional ignite. I would say that's the upside versus the other part. But to your point, who knows? Like the downside could be, instead of the less ignite stuff, it could be like less shock stuff, which might be irrelevant for you, So there's gonna be a lot of that.
True.
Are there any things you could think of Foulborn wise that, just hypotheticals that are super enticing? Legi?
Being honest with you, I really didn't put any thought into it because
Yeah.
like there can be anything there. Like honestly, like the one thing I would be excited about, like because they shown the Zov's amulet changing the keystone, right?
Mhm.
Maybe some uniques with keystones that give you other keystones. I think that's always
Sure, could be.
fun.
Yeah.
And it been a while since we could like as I call it cheat keystones or like like a
Mhm.
total league, I think, since we could,
Yeah.
could anoint keystones. So like a poison build that can get EO randomly or something like that. That's good.
Yeah.
So
How about
other
yourself,
than
Manni?
that,
Oh,
not really much.
anything, Manni?
Yeah, I haven't really thought much about it either. Because I mean, there are so many uniques in the game, something like 600 or 700 global uniques. So
Yeah.
who knows which ones they're gonna pick?
Like a
We
Thief's
definitely know they're gonna
Torment. How
pick
about
the
that?
breach one. So
Thief's Torment that
yeah,
doesn't say the
Thieves
no
Torment, where you
downside.
can't use. Yeah, we can use 2 rings. I've heard the idea of abysses without the take increased damage downside, but I feel
Sure.
like I don't personally expect those to exist because like those uniques, the downside is the main identity of that unique, the way I see it. So I don't expect those to go. I expect downsides like minus resist or something small to disappear maybe, but I don't expect the Chaos hard where you can use sockets or an abysses where you don't take more damage. I don't expect those, but it could be fun if they do exist.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just kind of like could be it's going to be exciting, no idea. And the thing is that's weird is versus other league mechanics that have done kind of similar things is this is purely item generated, right? So you can't put an Emberwake in and get anything. It's going to drop, you might be able to curtail if it's a ring or not, but it's going to just still be a drop from the womb.
Yeah,
So,
I expect you can probably target it kind of, because
Yeah.
there's a tree for these unique, so you can probably make it more likely to be a jewelry item or more likely to be an int item or something
Yeah.
along those lines.
Yeah. So it's going to be definitely up in the air, but I would also assume that if you're planning on getting some of these or farming out one for a build, if you could build around maybe a lower tier unique, I'd assume that'd be more common in that respect as well. So if you wanted like a Carnage Heart that instead of having all res has like 70 Chaos res or something, that's gonna be way more likely than trying to get your Mage Blood that does something different.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, there was also a line that says like 2 Falbo modifiers there, I think, or something
Sure.
like that.
Yep.
I think.
Yep.
So that is exciting, honestly, for some things. Obviously, like who knows what they cook up there,
You could be a
but,
headhunter that instead of giving strength and dex gives dex and strength.
Yeah.
Whoa, buddy.
Two uniques that could be kind of interesting are the time clasp and the warp timepiece.
Oh yeah,
which give a reduced
Soul
duration.
Eater, baby.
And yeah, for the Soul Eater ring, those are you don't necessarily need them. I've done the math and you can make Soul Eater work with Bladefall without those, but they help a lot to not having to waste 1 million points on the tree now.
Yeah. Also, the Falbor uniques are not corrupted, just to clarify, in case people didn't realize. They're not corrupted. So if we're underestimating grossly how hard it is to get like low tier uniques that are of high value for specific modifiers, you can still then generate multitudes for like double corrupts and stuff. Because especially for rings, it kind of sucks to have base implicits if they're not, especially coming off of like last league. Like I double corrupted like 30 Coiling Whispers to try to get all res or stats or something. So, or bleed or poison is like the dream for most builds. But yeah, you want to hopefully
that's
it's
what I was
like
thinking of those two because they're so common as normal drops. So maybe they would be common fall ones too.
Hikazar is so good already. Just imagine if they swap that life regen to flat mana regen. You get 300 flat mana regen. Big Kikazara fan over here.
I mean, same.
Yeah.
Use it every league.
It's so good. Top five uniques in game. All right, so Falbor uniques we're just gonna keep our eyes out in that, and it's gonna be not planning on using them maybe in our starter builds, but I could definitely see getting something disgusting and then building around it. So
I really wonder if they're gonna be data mined right before the patch, and we can like go through a huge list of all these, or if they're just gonna pop up, and for the first weekend or so, we're just gonna see tons of cool things linked in global chats or Reddits. And
other question functionally that we didn't get answered to my knowledge is we know that they're all handmade as far as they were curated and made one at a time. They weren't made with some sort of like code replacement for creating them. And what they haven't answered that I've seen at least is if there is a pool for each item even, What I mean by that is, say I have S's Visage, and the modifier they've shown us is damage cannot be reflected. Is that the only option for S's Visage? But that's impossible. There has to be more than one, because Foulborn Uniques can have more than one thing. But is it just like you get Foulborn Mod 1 and it's can't be reflected, and Foulborn Mod 2 is something specific? Or is this pulling from a pool of 10 modifiers that have been tagged for appropriate to use on this item? And then even so, if that's the case, will the mods be weighted within that? You know? That's
Yeah,
like,
ask me again in a month from now.
that's a I think we'll know before then, but that's a big question.
Yeah, honestly, for me, like this is one of the more exciting features for this. Like if those uniques are like, you know, fun and like meaningful, because like I'm planning to play trade, so I was like, oh, maybe I can build around something like actually cool and do some.
You're gonna League Start trade?
Yes, I am League starting trade.
Oh, perfect. I put a meme face next to the async question, but now we can actually ask you things about it when we get there.
What do you guys think? Is there a non-0% chance that these Foulborn uniques might have their own unique stash slot?
Oh, 0% chance.
0% chance, in my opinion.
Yeah. Nothing else has ever done that. I would even things that have Scourge modifiers were the same unique. There's never been a case in history that's been the case.
Yeah. I mean, people make the comparison to replicas, which have a similar wording, which is replica visage instead of Foulborn.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Just because the name's different.
They're a different unique.
It could be. It could be. I'm not gonna. It's a non-0%. I would say. I'll give you a very low one. A 2% chance. It would ruin my life, though. To be fair, I'm just now reaching. I'm at 99% unique completion, and it's. I don't want to have to start over, please.
I doubt that becomes core anyway, because a high chance it doesn't go core.
The Foulborn portion won't. The Breach thing will. Bloodlines will. I think maybe not the Womb, but Breach as an update will. But
the Genesis tree seems a bit too powerful on first. At least what we've seen so far.
Yeah,
but who knows?
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, the thing is about Genesis tree, like if they add Breach the base game, wouldn't Genesis tree be there anyway? Unless I mean, I guess
it's the only reward that Breach has. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like it drops Breach Splinters and Breach Stones anymore. It just drops the blood and the how does it called gifts, craft gifts, or something.
Womb gifts.
Womb gifts.
Yeah.
Right.
It's birthing them. It's very visceral. Like, it's a lot going on.
Tai working overtime.
He is. He's actually just been playing RuneScape, but that's okay. It's a better game, let's be honest. You can't beat RuneScape. RuneScape didn't have to pick up corpses. Unless the quest made you. Then he did.
So I think if they integrate Breach in the main game, the tree stays. At least that's how I feel about it.
I guess the tree would stay, but the grab abilities will probably go.
Probably something like that, yeah.
I would say it's even more condensed. That I think the tree itself stays, but the tree's tree does not stay. And I think it's going to just have a much, much more simplified, like it brings up a menu of 4 different things. And it's like, would you like to make a rare, a currency, or a fragment? And that's basically the extent of it. Like a way more simplified version.
It definitely wouldn't hurt to simplify. Like I'm always thinking back to Heist and how they implemented all of these million aspects of Heist to the main game, like the items and all of that stuff, and none of it is relevant years later.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, I'll be complaining about Heist when we get to the quality of life section. I've got many bones to pick.
Yeah, but let's save it for them.
Let's talk a little bit about the gems. They showcased, I think every gem. They showcased them all. We don't have the numbers in all of them, but we know the basis of all of them. Of the new gems, which a large portion of them, it was very funny during the live stream because we were watching and they were showcasing stuff and chat was typing, oh, Blast Rain 2, and then 10 seconds would go by and everyone types Blast Rain 3 as they just make a new thing that looks like Blast Rain. And there's definitely a lot of projectile attack things, bow and wand related. Definitely seems to be a big focus here. Which of the skills, starting with you, Legi, skills or supports, do any of them stand out to you as being something you'd like to work towards or use?
I mean, the kinetic rain obviously is the one that stood out, but like everyone, that can add 2+2 knows that like this is not gonna stay the way it is right now, because like the effectiveness of skills like this just don't add up,
Yeah.
It's like 300 something effectiveness, like overlaps like crazy. So and they already nerfed it, kind of. So
in
that
the
stood out.
Ziggy D video, I think they nerfed it in two ways. I think they made the higher level and just the damage numbers were lower, right? Something like that.
It's like level 28 instead of 12, and like the damage is lower, right? So
yeah,
it's like less of a like impact. It's more about this, hazard anomalies thing, type of deal. So I mean, that was one thing. The other one that I kind of like is the spawn that circle, like the swirling strike from
the
PoE2
growing
from
storm,
like Amazon. The growing storm, and then release the tornadoes. I like this one. Like if you can, integrate the bubble with like mana forge and stuff.
Oh, do you mean Windburst, or do you mean the other one? There's
Windburst is the support. I'm talking about the active skill one.
Okay.
I don't remember the name.
Thunderstorm.
Maybe it is called Thunderstorm.
Yeah. That's where you stand in it. Yeah, entering the storm causes it to gain stages. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, and then like you run out and release the tornadoes.
That doesn't seem like clunky to you.
Winds. I mean, as a main skill, honestly, I would not play it, but like more as a bow enjoyer, I would think like, oh, well, just put it on the mana forge, and like when it spawns under you, stand in for a second and it pass the tornadoes.
The one thing I'm concerned about is it does have the tag. You must use the skill yourself.
Okay. So I'm full of shit. Then.
I don't. Well, no, it does specify it cannot be used by totems, traps, mines, or other objects that use skills for you. I'm assuming that means
trigger should still work then.
I guess trigger should still work. Yeah,
maybe. I mean, it is you, so using it, but it just that line concerns me. I agree that it might be like a replacement for using tornado in like something like that in a one of those type of setups, because bow skills, notably, even this is like a weird aside, but you can answer this better. But famously, bow skills have 2 6 links. Typically, your second 6 link is either going to be on Merc League. It may have been set up for a Soul Eater setup, but a Mana Forge setup is quite common to do a litany of things, including call, give you charges, give you other charges, trigger abilities that augment your damage. And you think that this could be maybe a candidate for one of those?
Yeah, you can like add it to like your setups, because like you have an end game that is, because early game you probably need like secondary skills that affect single target, which obviously game becomes easier and we get the borrow power every league, but you still need it, right? But this could be like end game something for like clear and stuff. And if you build around it or like run maps around it, which is kind of weird when it comes to like bubbles, like you would be incentivized to run like a toxic sewer or something like that on the bubble, which is counterintuitive. But I would see myself, playing the tornado guy, just run through the toxic sewer and just blast everything.
We were talking about for mere moments before stream started, but Manny and I were discussing Windburst support, because I joked in saying that in the FAQ, they do specifically mention that the travel portion of Windburst support can be triggered by Flicker Strike. I was saying as a joke, and then we kind of went a little bit less joking, saying, well, it is a lot of tornadoes and maybe indoors, and so for mechanics such as, incursion, it could be like, so that kind of, is that what you mean as far as like doing content more geared towards that sort of thing? We'll never know.
I mean, probably, right? Because like that's how it kind of incentivizes you to use those things, because like it depends obviously on like a hit rate and stuff, but like that's why people like playing close map like a KB. Obviously,
KB is
we are speaking of the new gems, we are getting the wall, right?
Yeah,
like
the wall of force.
Numbers the wall number looks kind of okay, honestly. So it's nice.
And the wall of force, can that be triggered by Spellslinger? I don't know.
It can be, but it has cooldown, so it wouldn't work really. So you kind of have to.
You probably want to place it yourself anyway, so it's placed correctly.
Okay. So you couldn't do a thing where you run 2 wall of forces in a setup, kind of like how you could do with Battle Mage's Cry, where you have 2 Hydra Spheres, and you can gain the benefit of overriding their cooldowns. It could be a situation like that, maybe.
I would assume that the walls share cooldowns. Like you cannot run like fucking 6 walls. It's not PoE2 Bell situation.
Yeah. How about yourself, Manny? Any skills, supports, or actives that are tickling your little fancy?
It's really mostly the wall that stuck with me, because I oftentimes play Wonders as a second or third character for like the last 5 leagues now, and with this being labeled the Wonder League with tons of changes,
is it
likely I'll play another one, and then the Wall of Force should hopefully help single target a lot, because that's the main problem the Wonders have.
Is it a surprise that as a German, you're obsessed with the wall once again.
We didn't like the wall all that much, Lighty.
Okay.
I don't know if you
I was on the wrong side
Ignorant-
of it. I was left on the wrong side.
Americans.
I watched the movie Bridge of Spies on a plane, and that's how I learned about it. You know,
fair.
there was
I
a
mean,
wall
the
of
kinetic
force.
rain skill also looked enticing. The Fusillade Wonder skill looked terrible in my eyes. It reminded me of that PoE2 Fusillade skill, and hell nah.
Yeah.
But the kinetic rain could be good. I haven't really researched much about these new gems, to be honest. I'm not really studying a new skills. I haven't really dived much into them yet.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I feel like it could be a pretty common case with a lot of the AoE wand skills where your trees might look damn near identical, regardless of which one you're playing. You probably just swap out two gems and you're good to go. You know, whether they're AoE tagged or not, that's the only real typical
question. It could totally
question.
just be 6-link kinetic blast, and then when you have a D17 boss coming up or something, you just swap in the kinetic rain gem instead.
Yeah.
Like it could be just as easy as that.
Like you playing, you know, the trickster when you're hot swapping in Reap for Exsanguinate for certain content.
Yeah, exactly. Just have that gem lying around in inventory and just swap it in for the map boss.
But
could
just
be
think,
a thing.
What if you could weapon swap and just have a whole other tree and then not have to do that? It'd be the perfect thing.
Future will provide. Maybe they will add that.
Yeah.
Just wait 2 years when you're playing the Spiro game, maybe.
Yeah. PoE 4.
Yes.
Nice. I would say this is going to probably be the bulk of our conversation for some stuff, but let's talk about the Bloodline Ascendancies, because this is, to me, definitely the most interesting part build-wise.
Exciting part.
Although I think there's like a huge gap in power from your average Bloodline to your average Ascendancy when it comes to good Ascendancies. But some of the Bloodlines, to me, I would say the overarching thing is a lot of them are very, very niche, very, very fun, but not necessarily like good as far as we're considered, you know, whatever a top tier ascendancy would be. But you can mix and match them. They're just straight up ascendancies. So you have to use your real ascendancy points, which is why it could be a tough decision. And they're all character bound, not account bound. So if you were playing, like I'm playing Flicker Strike on launch, right? So if I wanted to use my Uber Lab to get a Lycia, I have to go kill a Lycia, you know? And that's a price, or a Trial Master or whatever. So that for solo self-hunt is a thing, but for trade, this is going to be a whole fucking sub economy of like selling bosses and whatnot.
I love that part, honestly. Like starting a league and you know you're going to have to use, or you want to use like a Sanctum Ascendancy, for example, it changes your whole league start strategy around, because now you know you put like this huge focus on trying to get the Sanctum or the Trial Master, whatever it is, done as soon as possible. Like this little mini game on league start seems very exciting to me.
Yeah, but it's exclusive to SSF, I would say. Otherwise, because you're just going to buy it. But it is pretty. I do agree that it does enable that little feeling. You know, I'm not sure if I want to pick one or not, but Trial Master is one of them. Well, let's just go over them in order, because we have access to, was it 9 of them at the moment? I think there's one missing.
The Breach one is still unknown.
Do we know if it's Breach? Like, is that confirmed?
Yeah, it is kind of confirmed. Like, they've shown the
background or something.
Of the okay. On the trailer.
I'm assuming that they're sandbagging, because it's probably going to be Zestuatl, who's going to be like the final boss of Breach this expansion. That's my guess.
Probably, yeah.
But either way, let's start with the Trial Master, because this one has some of the more interesting ones amongst them. So he has...
Yeah, I like this one.
Yeah. He has 2 choices for sides, but one of the choices has a fractal pick, where you get to like a Scion. Let's go over the Corruption's Embrace first. This is the one where it says... These are some keystones that 90% of players have never heard of, I'd imagine, to be honest. But if you ever used... you know, the Trial Master Shield, Ultimatum Shield, or these weird uniques, you may have experienced these. So you have different keystones if you have at least X amount of items equipped. If you then reach full equipped, 8 items, then you have all 3 and it tiers down. So the first one is Shepherd of Souls, then Everlasting Sacrifice, and Sacrifice of Blood. Shepherd of Souls says that the Val non-aura skills require 80% less souls, and they require 100% increased souls per Val skill using the past 8 seconds. And then you have the Everlasting, which sacks all your ES to gain 5 max all res, not elemental res, all res, when you reach it. So if you had very low ES, and then you had like, if you had 30 ES and you had a Watcher's Eye that had ES on hit, you hit once, it triggers, and it's just active. And the other one being Sacrifice of Blood, which is life regen. Recovery from regen grants the blood barrier while in full. The barrier is then equal to 30% of your life. Damage from hits is taken from the barrier before your life. Half-life regen. So, which of if any of these or all of these are you guys interested in? Because for Shepherds, I feel like an obvious one, but yeah, all of them, right? They're all
they're all niche in a way though, and it's gonna be hard to find the build that actually wants to use all 3 of these.
Yeah.
But I think even just 2 is... I could see myself using just 6 corrupted items and using the first 2.
Yeah.
Shepherd of Souls just requires you to have a Val skill in your build that is not an aura, and you don't want to spam it too hard. But there's a lot of skills or builds currently out there that do that. Like anything with Reap wants to use Val Reap pretty much every 8 seconds, so it fits perfectly.
Yep.
Because the duration of Val Reap's blood charge is exactly 8 seconds, coincidentally. There's also Val Blade Vortex that is a duration skill that lasts probably around 8 or 10 seconds that works nicely with this, and probably many more that I'm not thinking of right now. But
yeah,
Shepherd of Souls is very nice, but probably not worth an ascendancy point on its own. But then Everlasting Sacrifice giving an easy +5 max res. Well, not super easy, but you can set this up in multiple ways. It just requires your character to not have too much energy shield. So like pretty much a full evasion or full armor build that just has a bit of a 50 or 100
if you have 2
ES
ES and you have 1 ES regen, this thing...
It's pretty hard to get exactly 1
right,
ES.
but just as an example, to showcase how little investment hypothetically you need. So it's quite common for, I think it's, you can have on Jewel, for example, 2 ES on hit. And if you have 1 item you're wearing is a hybrid armor ES item, you're going to have like, whatever, at most 50 ES or something. If you have no investment anywhere else. That's going to be triggering on an attack build constantly,
Yep.
And you'll just be at +5 max res. And that's, people do a lot for +5 max res, right? So it's...
Yeah. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah.
Another option is the body armor and belts can have a suffix that says 200 ES reach when there's a rare or unique nearby.
Correct.
So basically, as soon as there's a rare or unique nearby, you would have +5 max res now.
Yep.
If your build happens to have just 50 or 100 ES or so. Yeah. Or even 500 or something would be fine.
Mm-hmm. The one thing you have to be careful about where it says Val non-aura skills, I do believe there's a chunk of Val skills that aren't like aura skills that have aura tags, I believe. Because some of them do give
something like
weird buffs.
Val Smite definitely has an aura, so that one doesn't work.
Yeah.
What else would have the aura tag?
I don't remember if Arc does. I know it gives you lucky, right, for an amount. I'm not sure that has an aura tag. But I just know that there's some of them, like a lot of them give buffs in some way. And they might have like, wonky aura tags. So just keep that in mind. But that one's pretty cool. Like, you think about this one you like specifically, or we covered everything?
You guys covered it pretty much, but it is more of a second build type of deal. And like if you wanna like fill your max res, it is good. It is good, but you have to corrupt your items. That's the problem. You're not gonna be randomly corrupting your league start items or day 3 items. Let's say it's not free.
Yeah,
the corrupted thing is pretty scary.
To Manny's point, though, you could route in it'd be weird, but you can route in such a way that like you pick up like every Val side zone, Atlas node, and like you make a portion of your gearing is just through running into the rare Val side zones and then just like
there's no way
looking for life triple
Lighty. Okay,
you'd better just Val the gear that you find.
Yeah,
but this is especially easy to fit in if you're using a lot of common uniques.
Yes. Yeah.
So and especially in trade, it's much easier to fit this in.
Yep.
I still don't think you will see this on any league starter. At least not early on. This is more a thing you fit in later or use on your second character to specifically build around this whole restriction of corrupted items.
Yeah, like on early stars, like you care about just damage and power, and like defensive stats are like not as important as just 20% more damage from ascendancy usually. Like
one thing to note, I think trinkets do work.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah, corrupted items are equipped. A trinket would work for this, so you're automatically down 1 number in most because they work for incubators. Yeah, And don't forget, you don't actually have to do a heist to put a trinket in. You just have to have a trinket in your inventory, and it toggles the socket. So that'll be enough.
Would be
Graphs
funny
do
if it
graphs
like
work.
counts the graphs, but I don't think you can like.
I don't think they're equipped
Wow,
Can
them.
technically.
crafts even be corrupted?
I don't know. It's a good question, but they definitely aren't equipped. Not for nothing, but the small node, the small nodes
are in
is
the inventory, right? They are kind of equipped.
Yeah. The small nodes on these bloodlines are actually something I feel like people aren't talking about. Like this one's life, but the other side of the Trial Master one is just the small node is gain 1 Val Soul per second, and a lot of these small nodes are really strong. Like there's a small node for, we'll get to it eventually, but the Delirium one, which is like 15% CDR, which is like really crazy for a small node. I don't know if
the second ascendancy that we're gonna probably cover soon, right?
Yeah,
that thing is really powerful.
There's a couple of these that are really powerful. So the other Trial Master portion here is it gives you can pick one of these 3 options, right? Just to clarify, this is how it looks like for Ascended. If you ever played a Scion, you grab the node and then you pick a sub node. So it's not like you get all of them. It would actually break, I think, the Ascendancy if you picked them all. A lot of them are arguing with each other, but these all do different things, like reduce soul gain prevention. They cost less and they have a chance to regain them. They do more damage per soul required. So ones that take a lot of souls will hit like a fucking truck, and they actually get an extra use. This could be a really fun one, I think, for some scenarios. And then the increased duration, increased AoE, increased effect of auras. So if you're playing like a support and you were rotating the purities or something.
Amazing for auras.
Like, yeah, that seems quite strong. Increased effect of auras from your Val skills. I wonder if that just makes the latent purity, corrupt, with the Val versions just get the gem levels the same when the Val skills get gem levels. Like if it's just 50% increased effect for purities, that could be base effect would be pretty absurd, I think. But any of these specifically stand out to you, Legi?
Not really, honestly. Like those are, as I said, like second build type of deal, and
Yeah.
I didn't really think about like the Val skill choices, but like maybe you can do something with like the flask and like Val, I don't know, Stormcall. We had that in the past or something like that. I don't know. I didn't think about it, so
Manni?
not really me.
Yeah, this seems a bit less exciting than the other side to me.
Yeah.
Because Shepherd of Souls kind of does a similar thing to this as well, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Shepherd of Souls lets you use your Val skills more often. This is more like buffing them a little bit, but yeah, it seems more niche.
I agree. And then the other, the upside, obviously, of the Corruption's Embrace, the Shepherd of Soul side is much higher because you just can do way more stuff if you want to. But yeah. And just to clarify, you could put 4 points into this if you wanted. There's nothing stopping you from picking up Corruption's Embrace and picking up Priest of Yaumek.
That could honestly be a thing.
Yeah, I mean, definitely for Val skills, like Val skills are inherently so absurd that, if you can get them going all the time, it's been, not that Hateforge were good previously and they're basically unusable as of right now. But there's been like historically, like in Settlers with the Surly's Masterwork weapon enchants, or Crucible with the different ways to get your Val skill reduction above 100%. There's definitely, if you could spend 4 ascendancies to be like, you have infinite, Val skill gems or Val skill uses, and they're super, super strong, that is very powerful. That might be worth, something. So TLDR, Trial Master seems pretty good.
Doesn't say minions, so it's good.
It's true. Let's talk about Oshabi next. Oshabi has, I think, my favorite one of all of these, even though I do think it's what I'm thinking is terrible, and that is the Primal Owl. I love the idea because you could reach 9 seals on a build. It is worth noting that from a recent video, this number was amended from 5% to 10%. I don't know how much that makes a difference.
No, the other way around, right?
Was it the other way around?
It was shown as 10 in the
okay. Was it 10% increased, or was it 10% more?
It was 10% more.
Okay,
in the
so it was 10 and it went
video.
to 5, so they nerfed it already. All right, or whatever.
Yeah.
It was, but I like the idea of this. If you've ever played it, like playing a seal build, like most commonly used to just Blade Vortex because of it makes your life a billion times easier just to have Awakened Unleash. But if you ever played a seal build for actual casting, it's like super clunky feeling because you're just standing still in casting for so long, but I love the idea of just like, so Awakened Unleash is 4 seals. You get 3 from here, 1 from Mastery, and then 1 from a Crusader helmet. Redeemer helmet, thank you. So you can have a tremendous amount of seals. So like the idea of using like Arc or something and then just standing still and doing all the 9 Unleash casts, to me is really funny. But yeah, it is the long nut button. I'm not sure how good that is though. And then the more multiplier occurs each seal usage. So it's 5% of the first cast, and then 10, then 15, then 20. But yeah, it seems cool. What do you guys think about that? The Primal Owl.
I was excited at first when I seen it. I think it's a cool one, but it has problems. Like it's gem pressure because like you gonna run like multiple seal skills, right? Because like every skill with seals like Unleash has like different cooldowns, right? So again, like Unleash 9 ball lightnings and then unleash another, I don't know, 9 ball lightnings, whatever. But it's okay. It's niche. Yet again, like this can be fun to make it, make a build around it. But why not just press one button?
Yeah.
But that's how I look at the game. For some people, it's like, oh shit, this is like so exciting to do something like very new, very like novel to them. So like, yeah, sure. For me, it's like doesn't add up. I'm not gonna interact with it.
It kind of fits better into PoE 2, doesn't it? Where you combine multiple skills as an idea there, where you have this one skill that you have 6 linked with Unleash, and you only click it like once every 10 seconds when the seals are there. But in PoE 1, it doesn't really fit in my.
It's my ultimate ability.
Yeah,
I think
there's some discussion on how this works with Blade Vortex.
I think it's pretty obvious, right? Doesn't it just snapshot? Is nothing more than snapshotting the cast? Like, as far you think it's gonna override on the last Unleash, and they're all gonna get damage buffs?
I mean, you're gonna cast it, but like it's not gonna gain damage. I'm like sure of it is not gonna add damage to PV.
Oh, you don't think it's gonna add damage at all?
At all, no.
I think it is gonna add. I think it's gonna add that damage to that blade, that rotation of that blade.
The thing is that Unleash support has reoccurring skill deal 40% less damage or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And BV ignores that because the first one isn't reoccurring and that one does full damage, and then the other one just adds stacks to the highest damage one.
Oh.
Now, this one adds more damage to the recurring ones, but since they still have 40% less damage, even after 9 unleashes, it still ends up being a net negative. So it would still take the damage of the not echoed one or not reoccurring one, because that one is the highest one still, right?
Yeah. It's funny. It's good to note that this, just to clarify, this doesn't say that like your whatever skill is supported by Unleash. It has to be already, like, this is only for builds that are using Unleash. There's no way to use this. Like, you have to use the support. You can't get around.
Yeah, that would have been cool if there was some.
The gloves, what is it, Casilas that they have Unleash built in, or what is it? There's some.
Kalisa's Grace or something like that. Yeah, it's like a 5-link glove that has Unleash support. So that would be a useful glove if you want to have a normal build, quote unquote, and then just add an Unleash setup as like an ultimate on top of that, right, for single target.
Yeah, seems cool though. But okay, so the other ones, you have the Vivid Cat, the Elusive. This is kind of tied into the fact that Assassin was just updated, in a pretty decent way. I played Assassin last league.
Absolute garbage.
So
we're talking about this.
I think it's also bad because it's just the problem I have with this is the same problem I have with Assassin. Assassin says things like, there's a lot of conditional, not permanent defensive things on Assassin where it's like, you don't take reflect if you've crit. Well, there's a lot of scenarios where it could drag your crit down or whatever, and then it's like you kill yourself. So it's not like I'm not going to build around that. Like, Elusive's great, but its uptime isn't always active. So it's like, do I care about this if it's not going to be consistent? Kind of like anything else in PoE. Like, the answer is no for me. I just care about consistency, and to me this doesn't.
I mean, Elusive is like 99% uptime. You gain it on crit, so you get it pretty much instantly on a crit build.
Yeah,
that's not really the problem. It's just the numbers on this are
Well, stealth is
extremely
nothing,
low.
right? I mean,
Seems no, stealth. I don't know. There was this stealth node in Freesia where you had 100% increased stealth on one of these classes,
yeah,
and that allowed some really cheesy stuff where you started a harvest, for example, and then went off screen, and the monsters just wouldn't detect you, and you could just kill them from off screen without taking any damage.
yeah.
That you wouldn't even get attacked.
I just can't imagine
that
this
worked for a
matters
lot
in
of
any,
encounters.
like, no boss fight or no content that's of importance or difficult. You're not going to be able
Yeah,
to.
I mean, you're not gonna play like some stealth glass cannon build. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think that's really a realistic thing to do. So you're still gonna build defensive layers. So why not just actually fight the monsters normally, right? Like, it just seems unnecessary.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love the idea of this node, like buffing elusive more and making it more consistent. You know, making it stop at 100% to get the higher avoidance numbers. Because the big downside of elusive, in my opinion, is that since it ticks down,
Yeah.
some of the time you're gonna get no value out of it at all, right? You
Well, if this just said
absolutely no
refreshes
damage
it
avoidance.
instead, if this was like a 5% chance to unhit to refresh your elusive to back
I would
to,
just prefer this to be 100% chance
well, that,
to remove it 100% effect.
yeah. Yeah.
But even
I mean,
then,
that's how I
it's
read it
questionable.
first, actually.
Mm.
Like, I that's how I read it first. I was like, oh, this is actually pretty good. But no, it's just 50%. It's like inconsistent on top of like elusive being inconsistent and feeling bad. Like,
Yeah.
I remember like after they changed elusive, like to not being able to be refreshed, I like tried an elusive character and it felt awful. And then add more casino gameplay on top of it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't like it.
No, it's a shame.
Almost. The other one I think is actually pretty good, and this kind of reminds me of the Trial Master one, where if you don't have a lot of rage, it can be really interesting, which is the Vivid Bear. So the small node gives you 2 rage on hit, so it's already its own thing. And then it says you have plus 20 max rage. You lose all rage on reaching max and gain adrenaline for 1 second per 10 rage lost. I kind of like this one. I don't really know if it's good enough to be like, it's the problem with all these is I'm probably gonna say this again, but like, it's like, oh, this is great. But to me, is this to ascendancy point great? And then I look at me playing Berserker and I'm thinking, no, probably not. Because I could just get this in another way, or like it's like the real struggle with these, which I think is almost perfect design that I'm constantly arguing with myself over. Is this worth it? And I think this one is like, because we just adrenaline's so fucking strong that it's like, it's almost, it might almost be worth it. What do you guys think?
I think this hits the niche of Bloodlines perfectly.
Yeah.
Where you expect to use a Bloodline when you have like some really off, you're playing something very off meta, and you're playing some kind of, I don't know, melee Saboteur, or you're playing, Bow Inquisitor, those kind of wild hipster builds that don't have ascendancies to pick because the class just doesn't have anything. They can easily pick the Wild Bear if they're attack based, because that's just generically always good, right?
Yeah,
you never hate
no
having
downside.
rage,
Yeah.
and you never hate having Adrenaline isn't perfect uptime. Yes, I know it's not as good as the OP ascendancies out there, but that's not the point, right? It's just better than nothing. It's just generically good.
Yeah.
You have adrenaline sometimes, and if not, they have some rage. Like, I think
one thing I'm curious about. So, is that if you were to reach max rage within the same time you have adrenaline, it says you can't gain adrenaline if you already have it. I wonder if it's still, if you can't gain adrenaline if you already have it, and you can't, so it won't end the effect. Will it just keep you on max rage until?
I think you would still lose the rage, judging from the wording, and you just don't get anything.
Yeah,
that's an interesting question. I'd be curious to see how that works though, because it has a bit of a confusion there, I think, with how it's worded. I don't know, but that's PoE, so who knows?
Honestly, I don't like this one. Like, I think you guys giving it more credit than it actually is worth. Honestly,
rather just run a Death's Grasp,
or sorry,
why not? No.
Death Rush.
I don't know. Like, I just prefer to just have rage instead of like sacrificing rage and like.
I mean, just pick only the 2 rage on hit, sure. But I mean, if you want to do that, you could anoint it as well, and that's probably better than an ascendancy.
I mean, not for all the right case scenarios. Like, let's say like a Wonder cannot get it if you want to use like a unique gloves. Like if you want to use Thunderfist, for example,
But what
there's
Wander
no way to
builds?
get rage.
So you're saying it's actually really good then, right? Because if you're playing a Thunderfist Wanda, this is 30% more damage for half an Ascendancy even.
I mean, for 2 points, I'm not saying about the actual wild bear. I think the wild bear part is bad. I think the small passive point is like very good.
Yeah, okay.
Like a 2 rage
Yeah.
on hit, but like the wild bear, I don't like.
So you
Like,
could
that's
put
the
so
point I
just to
don't like.
clarify, you could put 1 point into the rage, 2 rage and hit, and then you could put 1 point into like Delirium CDR, like on a different.
No, you can't.
Are you
You
sure?
can't mix these.
I could have sworn you could based off the patch notes.
No, you cannot.
Or,
No,
where is
it's
it?
1 bloodline, 1 ascendancy.
I require more reading. But we'll move
I'm pretty
on.
sure you can't mix bloodlines.
I
You can
think
only
you
choose
can.
1 per character.
I think you
You
can.
can put up
It's-
to
it's-
6 points into the Sharpie tree, but you can't have 2 different ones. Because if you could mix them, then you could put 8 points into them, right?
I still,
And
yeah, I
then
think you can. Yeah,
They don't
that's what I'm
allow
saying.
that.
Those bloodlines are full Alabama. You cannot mix them.
Where does it say?
One bloodline.
I actually don't see clarification on this at all.
Mark said that in the reveal trailer. Like
Well,
when he
Mark
was
said
explaining it, like it's a Mark said,
All right, well, let's go on to the King of the Mist anyway. So about the left side first, because the right side, what doesn't matter, but we'll go left side first. So Unlight Silhouette says skills gain added cast damage equal to 20% of life cost. If the life cost is not higher than the maximum life you could spend. That second line, I believe, just prevents you from killing yourself. Then the next part says skills gain a base life cost equal to 100% of base mana cost. To me, that sounds like a lot of damage on certain life casting builds. What do you guys think of that?
It is exactly the same line as the Burden of Shadow Staff from the ritual.
Without the massive
loss.
downside, and you don't get the free life tap, but yeah.
So you could combine them, and that would be the obvious use.
Yes, yeah.
That what I would think of. Like if you're already using the Burden of Shadows, then you can double up on the effect.
Yep.
But is it worth it? I have no idea. Probably
Yeah.
not.
Leggy? Like, no like?
I don't know if like sacrificing a lot of things to get some chaos damage. Like you have to stack a lot of life, and then there are problems with it, like the recovery problems. So
Yep.
maybe in some niche setup, but like it is cumbersome, honestly.
Yep.
It can work, but I usually don't like those builds personally, like defensive wise.
The right side is a very there's been a lot of discussions about this. So the upside is you get an extra ring slot, which is cool. The very cool. The downside is you either can't use amulets, can't use utility flasks are disabled. You still use life and mana flasks. I think hybrid flasks, or you can't use
And
belts.
tinctures.
Tinctures, yep. So if you were in like trade or hypothetically, the bottom two say no mage blood, right? Because you can't use utility flasks, you can't use belts. And the top line would say, it says no anoint, no simplex, no focused, no fancy big trade amulet.
Yeah, it's rough.
And for a ring slot. So if you're thinking ring slots, what ring slot is worth using one of these things for? I definitely think of these three things, belts, amulets, or utility flasks. The utility flasks one, to me, is the weakest where I would even remotely consider it, because if you could still use life and mana flasks and tinctures, you could still get something out of it. And then, but what ring would be worth using? I couldn't think of any ring in the game where I'd want to have a third one really enough. I mean, there's like precursors, maybe some Foulborn stuff.
It's an extra charge, hypothetically, right? If you have
that's one. Yep.
Could be extreme Herald stacking stuff, I guess, with the
triple Storm Secret, sure.
Synthesis rings.
Sure. I was thinking of Storm Secret, just getting more frequency on Herald.
I mean, one thing that I think has merit is like you can use a rarity ring, and like if don't
MFing?
use flask for on like a support situation, like a color situation. That's like
You would lose a gold
like,
flask though, right?
I mean, yeah, you lose a gold flask, but like you kind of don't really kill anything anyway. Kind of. I mean, you do kill it, sorry, but like it's kind of hard to like have uptime on that gold flask, and like you just get more rarity through this, right? There's like very niche things, like very degenerate things that can happen with this, but like for like a real build, let's say, yeah, maybe a charge ring, maybe like a giga synth ring or something.
Yeah,
maybe.
Definitely seems more memey than useful, but I love that it
you would never
exists.
pick the amulet or belt one though, right?
No, the belt one is amazing.
You think the belt one's good?
In the early stages of the game, obviously, before you have good belts. That's the only one I'm considering, really. Like,
yeah.
Really?
The belt one, exactly.
But only for the early game.
There's builds where belts are only a resist slot. Like, especially if you're playing energy shield builds, your belt is pretty much just, 100 ES and maybe 50 strength and 2 resists. Unless you have a mage blood, of course. But the belt is oftentimes very weak. The belt could definitely go, especially if your build benefits a lot from rings. Or if you have, like, say you heisted and you found a helical, and you can split it. You can use 2 of them now, and then can still use a death rush on top. Like, I would definitely consider this one. But, I mean, then you also have to pay an ascendancy, though. So it's so incredibly niche, like all of these. But, there is some scenario out there. If you play for thousands of hours, maybe one time you would be like, yo, I could use this for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, I would never do that. I would just never go with my belt. To me, because I'm thinking, even if it's just, you're saying just to the res slot, I mean, so even early league, it wouldn't be crazy to have, for me to be using a belt that's like, even like a Stygian, it's going to say 120 life, 120 res in some combination, a mana roll, then a mastercraft. Would I pick that if it was an ascendancy? I would pick that over a ring slot, probably, especially early on. Like, I just don't really, I mean, it's just like so niche, the extra ring slot, that I'm trying to think. I mean, if I'm at a scenario where I'm getting some absurd ring, I'm probably at a case where my belts are good enough that I wouldn't want to give them up, realistically. I mean, it's got to be some absolute bonkers ring, like a precursor, like a Uber Cortex ring.
Yeah, probably.
And then I'd have to have 3 of them,
charges,
because I would already be using 2 of them. So it's like, I'd have to have a third one. That's what I'm thinking, like Foulborn Ming's Heart, where they remove like the life downside and make it say mana or something. And I play like life stacking triple Mings that are all perfect to catalyze for, because there's 72 more damage. I mean, it's got to be something absurd. Like,
yeah, I mean, something very niche. Or maybe you're playing a build that wants a mod that only comes out on rings, or maybe even something reflected. So maybe a certain negative mod is actually a positive for your build.
Sure.
And then now you can use it 3 times.
Triple Doriani's, replica Doriani's goes up to 600%.
I guess, for example, yeah. Maybe also there was this thing where reduced AoE of curses or something would actually self curse you when you reach 100 or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Something like that could be a thing.
3 tames.
Or maybe,
swapping the flask for three tamings, I think, is just funny on paper. Just to have three perfect tamings would feel fun.
Yeah,
you'd be so sad.
I mean, the flask one definitely could see some use too, right?
If you're playing any concoction
would
build,
be a warden.
I think also, because you have to use 2 life flasks anyway.
On what? Sorry.
Like P.O.B. or P.Conk, like any of the concoction builds.
Oh yeah.
You're already using 2 life flasks, so it only says you lose 3 utilities. One of them's probably a tincture, so now you're only talking 2.
Do you think when you play E-Conk, and your utility flask are disabled, can they still have their charges consumed?
It's a good question. I don't know. We haven't even discussed the upsides of these things, because to me they're already really accessible in the game.
Really unaffected by poison?
Yeah, obviously it can enable some degeneracy, and something that we technically haven't talked about, which is, I don't really, there might be some, I talked to Yosis about this, there might be some loop build where you could do something, but there's nothing stopping you from grabbing all 3 of these, the small nodes, because it's not a choice. They're just okay. Alleys. So you could pick, I don't know when it would be, like a golden rule thing where you pick both poison and bleed, or I don't know, something really shit.
What if you only run those Valdo maps where you do less damage per item?
I thought about that also.
Any items.
But it's just like, in no scenario would the items you're choosing to opt out of in a Valdo's map be your amulet or your belt. Like, it's just, I would never do that. I probably would pick a ring, honestly. like over those.
I ran those Valdos with unequipped ring and amulet before.
Yeah.
But I mean, incredibly niche. It's just nice that these things exist.
Yeah.
Like I love that. Just those things that you don't use for years, and then at some point you'll be like, "What? This is the missing piece for my puzzle," and then you're gonna use it, and it's gonna be so exciting.
I'm just waiting for someone to make it
To break it
unaffected build,
open.
like triple unaffected watches, unaffected everything, unaffected by power in the video game.
Unaffected by
I mean,
progress.
You can just be an assassin,
level.
and you get unaffected by damaging elements instead.
It's true.
That's too easy, actually.
Yeah.
That's not enough meme power for that.
It's true. Let's move on to the next one. We have Feral, which this one's funny. So I've had
hard to evaluate.
I've had a lot of people talk. Well, we do know what some of the things are. Some of the things are in the FAQ, like the tiger stuff is in the FAQ now.
Oh, really?
There's 5 max tigers, and they each give a very small amount of those buffs, and then cumulatively, they equal a decent amount of buff. I think the numbers are. So 5 tigers, each one granting 25% increased crit, 7% attack speed, 7% cast speed. So that times 5. We don't know if they have how much life they have. I mean, that sort of stuff we don't know, because that's actually really important. Like, for example, we just had the squid body, right, from this previous league, and the buffs from the squids were great to have 4 of them out. They died in half a second. They died so much that in this upcoming patch, they're tripling all their defensive stats. And so it's going to be like, if we get weak squids in these new tigers, they're just going to fold and that doesn't matter. But if they're like, super, super chonky, that could be cool. One thing I just want people to really look at before we talk about these is this small node leading up to the bottom 3, because people keep talking about the bottom 3. I'm not sure if they looked at the small node where it says maximum number of specters is 1. I've had 4 different people talking to me about this and not realize that that's the small node leading up to it. So please, God, read this before we talk about stuff. Let's talk about Primal Roar first. This is the one that says 2% increased attack speed per minion up to a cap of 80. Minions deal 80% increased damage if you've war cried recently.
I already checked out. You said minions.
I did. I was going to get to talk about Legi's favorite word. Do you think this one is any good? I mean, to me, it reeks of things like Dominating Blow, I guess, because it's like, what build is an attack build that also uses minions, like the Wolf Claws from Ashabi?
Like spiders that also attack some. I mean, it just seems.
Yeah.
Why are the numbers so low? Why is it only 2%?
I don't know. It's that's the thing. Is for 2 points, that just really isn't that high. Like
yeah, I mean, you're treating it like it's a free thing, right? But you have to give up a quarter of your ascendancy for this. Like, I don't really
ascendancies, if they're offensive ascendancies, they've got to be equaling. I don't say close to a support, but like a lot of them are
multi-PS, right?
Most of them are like 20, I would say, for ascendancies. For more multipliers, I mean, they're.
Yeah, I mean, they're supposed to be. If there's something generic like damage, then they should be worse than a good ascendancy, obviously. Otherwise, you would pick them way too often.
Yeah.
But now you pick them never, which is also not great.
All right, so that one's a dud, right? There's nothing. I can't even. Yeah. The tiger one we talked about. So you got 5 tigers, level 20 spectral tiger on crit. We don't know the actual stats of the tiger, which is a huge part of that conversation, because we know the wording's funny. So summons a spectral tiger that attacks nearby enemies and dies after a duration. So they kill themselves, and then they're being frequently resummoned. If you have the max number of tigers, refreshes the duration and life of an existing one. So they keep themselves alive. It keeps them alive as long as you keep attacking. So you're just rotating out tigers that are leaping around. But we don't know how much damage the tigers themselves do, or if that matters. And if not, then it's just a matter of the buff, right? So then you're looking at, what was the exact number? So that's
135 attack speed and 125% crit.
Is that good enough?
Probably something like 10% more DPS, maybe 15.
Yeah. Is that could be something, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it's very generic to fit this in. Like any crit build, you could put this in, right? As long as the tigers
it's on
either
crit.
have no cooldown to be spawned, so you can get 5
because
fast.
They're just refreshing themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, so you would usually have 5 of these alive, right? Unless
Correct.
you're fighting a boss that has dots everywhere and they instantly die to that or something.
Yeah.
So I would give this a pretty high rating just for its generic availability. It's very easy to enable this. Is it numerically good enough than a normal fourth ascendancy? Very rarely.
Yeah, but and this is also locked behind Feral, so you'd have to find a Tony the Tiger in League, which can
That's not very hard, but
it's a little no. I mean, the big thing I think with a lot of these is you're gonna have your Uber, if you're in a normal setting, you're having your Uber Lab day 1 or 2, right? Almost guaranteed, unless something goes horrendously awry.
you get it in yellow maps, you should say.
Yes, yeah. I don't know if it would be super easy to find a Feral. Like the rate in which finding your ascendancies is nowhere near.
Spawn before level 80.
Correct. So like the rate in which you're finding most of these 4th lab ascendancies, if you're planning on starting some of these things, because it wouldn't be horrendous. Like a lot of builds operate fine on 6 ascendancies, but it would be a little bit slower. Like you'd probably find a King of the Mist substantially faster than a Feral, I would say.
These ascendancies are not supposed to come in at Uberlab time. They're definitely much later when you replace one of your nodes.
Jonathan didn't say that. It wasn't in the Q&A. We said we can do whatever we want.
You have to do a pinnacle level boss for it in most cases, or in all cases. So
yeah,
they come later than the lab comes.
That one seems fine. It's just again numbers.
This is a bit like the Oshabi one earlier, right? Where I feel like it's very generically good, and there's a wide variety of, but like pretty much any attack crit build could use that.
Yeah.
And then if you happen to play some kind of really off-meta hipster ascendancy, as I said, you're playing the Saboteur melee build or whatever, right? Like something that you're not supposed to do, but you want to do it because you're a hipster or something, then you don't have a 4th ascendancy to pick, and then you can just take one of these now.
The bottom ones, which again, the small node leading up to them, the max number of specters is 1. You got 1 specter, and they have 25% increased life, which is not a lot, but they all grant you a random buff, so that you have to summon. First off, you have to summon a beast specter, which most specters aren't beasts. Just to get that out of the way, so it has to be a specific type of specter, like the charge generation monkeys from Act 2 are beasts. I believe the crabs from Harvest are beasts. Those are actually quite tanky, but not all specters are created equal, like remotely, life-wise. So keep that in mind.
Realistically, you probably gonna use a ritual specter that's a beast, like with an aura, right? Like obviously endgame. Which
so most of those don't. Most of those aren't beasts. The vast majority of them.
Like a tiger, turtle, and like other stuff.
The turtle one is a beast, yeah. So like a lot of the ones, like the one looks like Argus is a construct, even though it looks like a beast. So like they're tagged very questionably. Some of them. The guardian turtle over the tiger, I think the 2 that were stood out. And then they have 3 additional modifiers randomly chosen in each zone. To me, this just reads like they get 3 rare mods, like a rare would. Okay. And then they all grant in different auras, so you just got to pick which aura you want. One of them is 80% increased accuracy, 120 crit rate, so about the same crit rate as the tiger one, actually. And then chance to take, and then you take no damage from crits. So that's the upside. So it's like they're decent auras. They're decent buffs. They're just, you're trying to keep a specter alive, which I guess is the downside.
This fully depends on how easy it is to keep those alive.
Yeah,
exactly. What's about to say.
Also,
if you can keep it alive, this is not bad at all. Honestly, it's really powerful.
It's one of the best ones then.
So the specters are for non-specter builds. Keeping a specter alive is pretty tricky unless you're if you're clearing off screen. It won't really be much of an issue outside of boss content. They do resummon, but only when you change areas. So it's like during a boss fight, if you were to try to resummon this, you'd have to redo them manually with corpse targeting, like you always had to do, or you can leave the instance and come back. But things like to keep in mind, like the turtle, unless you're reconvoking it, it's like getting Joffrey off of War Priest and Merc. You're gonna spawn him, and he's just gonna be waddling around. You probably won't be in its aura for a lot of it. So you have to be like.
Don't they teleport to you when they go off screen though?
They can tether, but some of them, it's still just like, we don't know what the aura radius is, right, of these things. So it might not all auras are drastically different in their aura radius. So it just depends, right? The other one is, the middle one says 100% increased damage, regen 3% life a second, can't be stunned. Interesting as well. Can't be stunned is kind of
The
nice.
speed one is the interesting one to me, but they're all pretty powerful.
20% attack and cast movement, so like Baby Onslaught prevents action speed from being lowered below base. You could do some interesting stuff with that.
The awkward part is that, like, often, like, normally this action speed cannot be slowed line. It allows you to be freeze immune.
Yeah.
But this is not reliable enough, probably, to rely on that. So
yeah, because if something
the awkward part.
chunked your, like, in the middle of the screen and it killed your Spectre, and then you're just frozen and you're dead. That's gonna suck.
Yeah. So you still have to have freeze immunity, so you don't get the extra value there. You just use it as a bonus on top that you can't rely on, though.
And just to clarify, you're down minimum one. Not that it really matters, but you're down minimum 1 to 2 gems if you're running this.
More like a falling.
Because you're going to have to run Meat Shield, possibly like Minion Life and Minion Res hooked up to your Spectre to keep something alive here. Depending on, there's like a lot of unknowns with like, you know, that portion of it. But yeah, it's not horrendous.
Well,
it's just
you got to keep in mind that the Spectre itself would also give you benefits. Like the turtle, for example, casts the Determination aura, so it's almost like a Merc.
It's like a Merc if he's a giant fat turtle that's slow as shit. Yeah. So if you're already planning on running one of these, it definitely is more enticing for that. Not all of these are offensive. Like, I mean, if you get the generic damage regen can't be stunned one, that's just like good stuff.
I think all the minions are offensive.
They are. I still foresee a scenario with a lot of builds that are like doing high-end off-screen clearing. There's no way I'm not going to be running like an AG setup and a perfect Spectre setup, if not multiple, because...
I mean, the thing is, like, in late game, like, if you're, let's say, Giga Wonder build, can, like, off-screen everything, and, like, your Spectre will somewhat stay alive, then, like, you could actually run this, like, you know, those Spectres give you like 50% auras, like big buffs.
Well, you could, but the downside is one Spectre. Again, like you'd be losing Spectres. Like versus normally, if you're in that scenario, you would have 3 different perfect Spectres, all giving you different auras, culling, onslaught, you know, whatever. But in this scenario, you only have 1. So that's like a pretty massive downside, I think. If that line was removed, if that line was removed, this would be, I think, really powerful. Because then it doesn't burden the fact that this is in a way conflicting with the fact that we now have the benefit of running perfect Spectres on any build, especially ones that are off screen, with very little recourse. Because if they die, they die. We just use offensive ones, and it's just like baby mercs. You can get there's a haste aura Spectre, yeah. There's like a lot of pretty powerful ones, and this would just limit them. But
yeah, true.
That part sucks. I just wish it didn't say that. If it didn't say that, this would be.
Yeah,
it'd be like when Uriel Fostering came out, when we all had fucking little beasts following us.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, well, it's a TLDR is feral, could be good. Seems okay.
Yeah. And
I mean,
especially to note.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
What are you saying, Legi?
I was just going to say it's action speed thing for T17 mods.
Yeah.
So like another option there if you want to run those maps. What was Legi saying? Sorry.
I was just about to say, like, you know, on the meme power range, like this is insane value for cut memers, you know.
Oh yeah.
Like you can pick everything, and it's like you know.
You could have
Farul build just got
wolf claws,
6 times better, pretty much.
Right, wolf claws, dark monarchs. You have 20 wolves. You have 5 tigers.
Crazy.
Yeah.
You know, you can see those POB floating around, like being linked.
I see the paint pictures people draw of just like fucking tigers everywhere and wolves and shit. Yeah. Team Jacob.
It is people are excited about it because they want a meme. So
all of these bloodlines are exciting. It just doesn't mean they're good. Like fun and good are not the same in PoE. You can have good doing fun things and vice versa, but it's just like everything's quantifiable in this game to a degree. So it's like, is this better than something else? Well, we could just mathematically prove it isn't. That's kind of not even what we're talking about at times. We'll say, oh, this is good, this is bad, but regardless, these things can be fun. Like, those aren't mutually exclusive or inexclusive. It's just, if you want to play a cat build, you can. Just doesn't mean it's going to be better than you playing your 10 mirror
Cast
wander.
on crit Forbidden Rite, cuts on crit with Farewell Ascendancy.
Yeah.
False.
There you go. Big cat.
Cat maxing.
The next one we're talking about is definitely one of the ones that have been talked about, maybe the most, which is Lycia.
Oh yeah.
It's rough because there's a couple things that we need clarification on. I'm pretty sure my first question is going to be answered, but there are examples of a lot of these bloodlines that come from content. So Lycia is from Sanctum, but she's also in a T17. Can you kill the T17 to unlock it? I'm assuming no, but we have not. That is definitely a frequently asked question, because it's the same with Katarina.
The T17 Lycia is a shadow of Lycia. It's not Lycia herself.
Okay,
so
we're assuming that's a no. A 99% no.
that's a no, yeah.
Second question is, what's the lowest level you could spawn Lycia in Sanctum?
I think it's
Always,
like
right?
70? 70 or something like that. I think you cannot get it from the quest Sanctum. That's what people
really?
said.
Okay.
That's what people said, that they can only get.
So
like
then it's going to be
3
probably
floors of that one.
71, I think, is the whatever. But so if you could spawn a level 71 Lycia, that's not difficult then. Realistically, I think it'd be probably more difficult with on a naked account to go through a Sanctum than it would be to kill
you
level
still need
70
a
Lycia.
Sanctum viable build and not some kind of
Just not melee.
Yeah. Taken build.
not melee. Okay, so then that means I would say this is probably the easiest 1-2 reach then, early on, if you could just do a level 70 Sanctum.
Well, you have to get a Sanctum Tome first of all.
That's
Like,
easy.
There's
Yeah,
many
that's not
runs
hard.
where you get to tier 16 and you haven't seen a single Sanctum Tome drop yet.
Yeah, but you could just sit in white maps for a couple hours and you'll just have one. Easy peasy.
I'm not so sure if
I mean,
you will get one, but
you're
you can try.
saying about like ease to get, so you're just saying, sit in white mods for a couple of hours.
Yeah, but that's easier than me spawning a tiger. Yeah.
And trading is gonna be really easy, right?
Just buy a
Especially
run.
people gonna actually do carries for this.
Mm-hmm. Sure. All these things will definitely have carries. I mean, the price of like, I would even be surprised if the Trial Master Scarab doesn't go up in price just because of guaranteeing a Trial Master, like that sort of stuff. Let's talk about the nodes, because these are, I would say that all three of these nodes could have some strong arguments. Some of them are way better than others, but we'll start with Bitter Heresy. And if you don't know what Rational Doctrine does, I would Google that now, because that's going to be helpful for this conversation. But Bitter Heresy you create Profane Ground instead of Conk Ground. So if you would ever make Conk Ground, instead it makes Profane Ground. If you're playing an Inquisitor, I believe that just makes Profane Ground if you have this. The Profane Ground you create inflicts Malediction. Malediction's a pretty juicy debuff because it makes things do 10% less damage and take 10% less damage. Okay? So it's pretty powerful. And then Profane Ground you create also affects you and your allies, granting Chaotic Might. So Chaotic Might is not the same as the Unholy Might thing, or was previously, but now the new Necro one's different. This is the old 30% physical as extra chaos. So it's the gaining, not converting, which is obviously way higher. So there's a lot going on there. If you have all of these things active, that's interesting, but the Profane Ground also affecting you means that the hits against you while you're on Profane Ground make you take, or you have 100% increased crit chance against you, correct?
I didn't think of that. It says hits against enemies on Profane Ground. I don't think it would say it would work against you.
Okay, so there's no downside at all to that then, right?
Just
clarify.
I'm not 100% sure now that you mention it, but
the way the word just confused me. That's what I was.
I think it's just the chaotic might part. So like this is just the chaotic might affects you and your allies. So like it's not the Profane Ground itself.
So then all three of these things, if they're active, that's a insane amount of value.
Of damage.
It's a lot of fucking damage.
It's so good. Like literally, you run if you're a build that runs Zealotry, you just get this for 2 points. And I think it's like crazy good for 2 points.
But you have to be exactly a build that benefits from Physics Extra Chaos. That's a minority.
I mean, not really Physics Extra Chaos. Like you can usually people that play Zealotry are like Fizz spells. Like that's how it goes in this game, right? Like let's be real.
Can you see like Inquisitors picking this up on top of the Conk Ground suite and just walking around?
I think
dropping
it's like
absurd Profane Ground.
Counterproductive for Inquisitor. I think it's really bad for Inquis.
Because
I mean, you can't use the region applies to ES anymore because you lose the region from the Consecrated Ground.
Yeah, so why be like one of the weakest ascendancy already? Like it's not very good, I think.
Double check the wording.
Well, you would also give up an ascendancy anyway. So you could give up the.
Okay, so
the
I guess
weakened
it's not
ascendancy, I guess.
converting all verbiage from conk round. It's just converting the other part. So where it says conk round you create applies 15% increased damage, that would just do nothing, right? Because it just you never make it. And then the life regen also would do nothing. Okay, I see what you're saying now. So that just does nothing because
literally does nothing.
It doesn't override the verbiage. It just changes what the skill does. Unfortunate. Either way, yeah. So that seems pretty strong though.
So about Zealotry,
yeah.
Where does Zealotry spawn the consecrated ground? Does it spawn on the enemy or on yourself?
Under enemy, I think. From what I understand, I think it's under enemy.
But then you would still need a source of consecrated ground on your character to benefit from the profane, from Kurdic Might.
That is true. Yeah, you're right.
Isn't that where rational? Doesn't rational doctrine spawn this though?
You would not. I mean, yeah, but you would not play it because
spawns consecrated ground on yourself and profane on enemies. So rational doctrine would take care of it really well. But that's very endgame, right? I spelled that
so wrong. I spelled this word wrong. I wrote concregated instead of consecrated. So if you had like a purifying flames, what else could you do? I mean, conk path was one of the people mentioning because you're teleporting to the thing. An obvious one. You could just run a sulfur flask there, right?
Yeah,
I guess, but that's like very.
Well, isn't
great uptime. It only spawns this when you click the flask, right? So it's not like it's always on you during the flask effect.
Well, we don't have to run bottled faith. I mean, you could have like overflowing chalice, or you could just have a regular sulfur.
Once again, like you can do that, but like, is it worth then? Like those gimmicks, like the thing I was thinking about, like using is like a spell slinger, purifying flame or something like that, or just purifying flame.
Yes, from above, that's spawning the conk round when you deal a crit on the enemy also, right?
That should work.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what could be a decent setup is, since you mentioned the Zealotry on first builds earlier, that would spawn the ground on enemies from the Zealotry. And since a first build usually uses an Explodey Crusader chest, they could also go for the Crusader prefix that spawns consecrated ground on you while stationary. And then
I still feel like rational doctrine is just such the easy answer to this, but that's an expensive answer, and that's a rare answer.
Yeah, but I mean, that's true. Rational doctrine
it already covers it, though.
Just because it gives you profane, you're saying?
Yeah, already. Like,
well, it gives you profane, but it doesn't give you the 30%.
I mean, would you pick 2 ascending spawns or 30% extra?
Well, you get Malediction and Kurdic Might from this ascendancy.
Yeah, I guess so.
I think you would. Yeah, 30% more damage
Probably,
plus Malediction, so that's 40%, and then you're taking 10% less damage always.
You would actually make sure the Malediction lingers as well from the thanks to
Rational Doctrine.
Correct.
Makes it linger to make it more consistent.
Yeah, but again,
that is true.
That's with a rational doctrine is like you're most likely not gonna have that. Definitely not in SSF. It's really, especially now because the Uber changes. That's even worse to get, I think. But in trade, you just buy. It's just expensive. I mean, But
funnily enough, if I would play a build from the league I played this league, which was like Scion Wonder with Omni, I would use the Legi Ascendancy on it actually. In fact, because I use Rational Doctrine for that. So yeah. Kind of funny.
Yeah, Scion is also a very easy class to fit in.
Now, Scion is the biggest. I guess for those who don't know, just to go over it, if you're not starting Scion from an alternate class start point, then for 6 points you get 2 Sign Ascendancies just pathing to them naturally. So it's like one of the biggest benefactors of the bloodlines, I guess, just numerically, because the downside's much less than I would say others, depending on how you path.
Yeah, pretty much like Scion's like the Uber Lab node, like it lost a lot of value since they introduced like Light of Meaning right now. Like that's why like this is very enticing on Scion. That's why we're talking about, really, because like you really want to be in Scion area, and actually is a big benefit right now in a sense, because like you can do some very like degenerate, very powerful endgame setups with Unnatural Instinct, like Light of Meaning, or Unnatural Instinct with the green jewel the Green Legion Jewel Milton Faith to like get the devotion stuff. So like there's a lot of very good endgame setups in Scion. So like
Yep.
this is very, very good.
So just
And
get
like,
yourself a Rational Doctrine, play Scion, get Bitter Heresy, bust. Bust,
I
bust,
like the
bust.
busting part. I mean, I feel like there is some world where you use this without rational, with Zealotry and some consistent source of Conqueror on you, like the Crusader body armor or something else like that. But yeah, Rational Doctrine makes this kind of a great combo. Otherwise, it's just kind of awkward, inconsistent.
Yeah, but yeah, seems good. The other ones to talk about are, let's go about Sinner Saint, the baby. The baby, the
This
baby
one is
ring.
probably the least useful one here.
I think it's
I have a hard
I
time
think it's the
seeing-
worst one, but
Yeah,
full
I agree.
Taxic Burst, that's like a common one people are mentioning just because of conversion stuff. But
there are very, very few elemental to chaos conversion things in the game already,
Yeah.
is what I realized when I looked at this. Like, I thought there would be a few, but there really aren't many, right? There's, well, Taxic Burst is a skill. Has something like 40% lightning as chaos built in.
Yep.
And then there's the Consuming Dark dagger that converts fire to chaos.
Yep.
And now you could reach 100 thanks to this.
Yeah, dual wielding Consuming Darks plus Sinner Saint. But
then
I
at
just,
the same time,
why though?
this league you got...
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we got the Assassin Ascendancy, all damage can poison. So if you really wanted to poison with elemental damage, you don't need to convert it anymore, right?
No.
So...
And not
just
from Assassin. Obviously, Flesh and Flames exist, so you could just Flesh and Flame that and trade. And then, if you're doing the opposite of trying to do not poisons and ignite for some reason, then you just have Elementalist. There's also the Dagger from Ubers that lets you damage poison. So there's just, I don't see to me this doesn't like ring like it's super good.
I mean,
but
it might be like, like if you want to use Wither to, because you cannot apply Shock or something like that sometimes, or like some kind of deal. If we're not talking about like poison builds, let's say just, hit builds that want to be chaos, but like it is awkward. So this is like one of those, building blocks for something that might come out, in a year, and it's like, oh, this is kind of broken.
Yeah, well, time will tell.
Eternity Shroud is another thing, maybe, because you already convert most of...
You stop that.
A big part of your damage is chaos, so you want to build around Wither, but you still have a lot of elemental damage too, so Wither isn't super efficient yet, but with this, Wither becomes very efficient for Eternity Shroud then.
Yep.
How about the gloves that people actually use quite a bit, like the
Aberrant ones, or which ones?
The Oshabi ones.
Yeah, abhorrent and something.
Something.
Those are good though. I like those. Yeah.
Aren't those Wither applies to elemental damage taken?
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're right. I just remembered like it was something about Wither, but yeah, you're right. I think it's like building block for later. We'll see.
Yes, we'll definitely see with that one. The other one though is, I would say this is probably the most talked about of any Bloodline I've seen, for really obvious
this
reasons.
One is complicated.
If you are unaware, there's things like the Elementalist, Calamitous Vision, there's Notables, there's Clusters. There's a lot of ways to scale Heralds, but this is probably the biggest more multiplier to buff effect there's been. And there's things you could do with like Essence Worm to make the reservation, I believe, go higher, someone was saying. There's like a lot of people cooking stuff and running math, but you can get like 2% more buff effect for every 1% of mana when they reserve. Heralds and the minions from skills do 1% more damage for every 1% of life reserved. The buff effect alone, you could reach some atrocious numbers of flat from the Heralds, not to mention what the Heralds themselves do. Like, people have shown, they've calculated where you can get like 350% more fizz, or the equivalent of like an extra 20 added support, lightning and cold and stuff. I would not even be surprised if this gets like nerfed before launch in some way, or amended or changed.
Please let us have one usable note.
Yeah, I don't, especially because this one's like just really open and generic. It could be one of the ones that can affect the most wide-ranging builds, because you could also, do things like Hoag, like the previous, and have that do way more damage. If you're doing like low life builds, you can reserve your entire life pool. And your Herald's now doing 99% more damage. Definitely seems quite powerful for a 2-pointer. This seems like a real 2-pointer to me, where it's like, yeah, that I could see that being cracked. What are your thoughts, Legi?
I mean, everyone's calling for a nerf skier. Like, it is really powerful if you can get it going on like your league start. Like, 6 hours in is like extremely good. But it opens up like cool builds later on down the line. I think if we somewhat disregard, like, how unbalanced it could be early game, like if you can get to this like very early, like it's very powerful. Like it can open up, like a Carol of Agony scaling for people. It's a nice end game scaling vector that is cool and might compete with other strats. So I think it's honestly okay. Like I wouldn't mind it to be like slightly nerfed or something like that, but I think it's okay.
I like the idea that this would enable people to use shavs again, because I could see a scenario where you have like a shavs build. I just like things like that haven't been too popular where it comes to having no mana pool and no life pool and just ES. I just want to see I want to see a shavs herald build, and that's what this makes me want to level. Makes me want to do something with it.
The thing is with like nerfing this, like if people nerf this, like there's still opportunity, like if GG nerfs this, like there's still opportunity cost to get those benefits. Like you have to lose a ring, you have to use some unique or something.
It's not
like
free.
It is.
No, it's not free.
It's not free. Yeah, exactly.
No. I don't think it needs to be nerfed remotely. It just seems good.
Just nice thing to have something somewhere like in late game, right? It's not useless.
Manny?
I'm not sure what you guys are talking about with the losing the ring. Is it for the what is the ring called? Essence Worm?
Yeah.
I mean, why would you do that instead of just linking some supports to it?
I believe it gives you way more buff effect scaling. Essence Worm, because it makes the reservation.
Essence Worm gives you 40% more of reservation, right?
Yeah.
Oh no, you're putting an aura in the Essence Worm, right?
Yeah.
So sorry, and then the Herald's reserve a bit more.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean that's one way. I was just kind of looking at this and just not even really buffing those. Like I was just gonna count them as 25% reservation, making this a 50% buff effect. And then you can still use the opportunity cost becomes a lot lower then, and you can have it more organically.
Sure.
It does become a lot better once you have Herald effect tattoos, right? Because there are increased Herald effect, which will be multiplicative of this, and then it becomes a lot better.
Having an additive multiplier to buff to make the multiplicative go bigger.
Yeah. And then the obvious combos are like either you do Lightning Cold for flat damage, you do Fizz and Ash for any Fizz's extra builds, or you do Fizz and Agony for a poison build, right? Those three combos would be interesting for the buff effect.
Yeah.
There's no build that really uses 3 heralds.
Blade Vortex Elementalist Quad Herald. How about that? Well,
the synergy isn't really there with the Fizz's extra and flat damage at the same time. But
you lack scope. You gotta broaden your horizon. You gotta pick this, and then you gotta pick the Oshabi bird, and you have all those unleashed seals on top of it. Yeah, I mean, I don't. It doesn't seem to me like any more degenerate than existing ascendancies that are just actually in the game, and it requires, like we're discussing, there's many avenues.
If you just put it on vanilla, like if this is you get this on the first day or whatever, and you have no tattoos, none of the crazy stuff. I mean, if you do the math on this on like physical and Ash, for example, right? The damage numbers are pretty okay already. Something like 10 or 15% more damage from this ascendancy here, which can already be worth picking. And then once you get into tattoos, or maybe I think there's a cluster jewel as well that could be worth it. I guess Herald buff effect.
There's a couple, yeah.
So maybe you could actually make this into a 20 or 25 or 30% more damage ascendancy potential, even with other investments.
I mean, for me, like the thing was confusing is like, is the buff effect like global, like more Herald buff effect for like all the heralds? So, because like when I first read it, it's like, oh, if this herald is
I see what you're saying, like for when they reserve, yeah.
When they reserve, so like it's per herald, but I don't think that's how it works.
Right?
Yes.
So if you're reserving,
then it's only going to get
that 50% more buff effect.
Yeah.
But since you probably have some efficiency on your tree, you're only going to get something like 35 or 40% buff effect typically.
Yeah.
Unless you go ahead and link it up, and then.
What if you run the body calamity, whatever? So it's always 45. The Herald thing?
Sure, you could use that. I don't think that's any good. Losing a body armor for a little benefit like that.
You lack scope.
Mm.
There's some interesting routes.
It's a good node, though. It's a good node. I don't think it should be like killed or anything.
TLDR, Lycia seems pretty okay. Yes.
Sure.
On to the next one. I know Legi was mentioning this one. The Delirium one. There's a lot going on here, and just as we talked about earlier, but the small nodes on Delirium are actually quite powerful. Like debuffs expiring 50% faster, 15% CDR. There's not much CDR. Like it's hard to get CDR.
That's a massive amount, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the elevated shaper belt or something.
Basically. I think a popular one people are discussing is the schizophrenic dissociation, which is like the baby
that one
Genesis.
is huge. Yeah.
I think
like,
this is
a complete
the strongest bloodline I've seen of all of them. We haven't talked about all of them, but
honestly, don't know if you want to call it strong. It's just extremely high impactful.
Correct. There's a lot of questions though, because so you take 40% less damage from hits. 4 seconds later, after each hit you take, you lose life equal to 4% damage taken. So with like recoup stuff, regen, whatever, it like you mitigate huge hits. Like that's
it's kind of like a Genesis effect,
correct.
Just not a damage over time, but like in a second hit 4 seconds later.
Correct. Yeah. However, the bottom line, this is the downside. But this is a big question because this is answered in some places in the game, but also not consistent in others. Non-cluster jewels socketed in your passive skill tree have no effect. There's something to be said about in your passive skill tree is weird because if you put jewels in your clusters, they for other things they don't count as being on your passive skill tree. So a question people have been asking is if you put jewels in the wings of your clusters on the edge, will they still have no effect because currently that they don't count for that if you put things in those spots. What do you guys think of this node?
I mean, let's discuss the jewels working first.
Yeah.
Do we think they work or not? Because, like you said,
I think they
other
do.
wording you talked about where that it does work?
Yeah, I think they do because that's how it works for things like timeless jewels and radial jewels. They're tagged as not on your passive tree, so they don't work for things like that. But I don't know. This is just something for the FAQ that we're sure will get answered.
Like I assumed this wording here on this node is so that abyss jewels in your gear would still work, and then jewels in your passive tree don't work. That's how I read this.
I mean, the thing is, like, Impossible Escape, for example, has this exact wording is like, place in the allocated jewels on the passive skill tree, and like it doesn't work, right?
And then you can't put it in your cluster, right?
Cluster, yeah, exactly. It doesn't work in cluster, so that's why people are saying it might work. Like I would bet is like 65% of cluster jewels not working because there was some stuff in the past with Adorned, right? I don't remember exactly how it was, and like they did some changes to that, but I would assume as Manni is saying, like the stuff in your gear would work, like
sure, yeah.
abyssal sockets, but like not the stuff on the cluster.
An alternate reality here where they amend that wording across the board, which would then enable you to use so it would make it so everything counts as being on the passive tree, right? They fixed the wording. All things are in the passive tree. When you have this in, you could only use clusters, right? But then if they did that on the flip side, then you could start out. If you didn't have this allocated, you could start doing things like putting timeless jewels and threads in your clusters, and that would be able to let you reach stuff that you couldn't possibly reach before in weird combinations. And to me, that sounds like a massive can of worms that they wouldn't do before League launch, which makes you think it will work actually with the wording like this. But
so I would say if we can't put any non-cluster jewels in our build, this node is still interesting, especially on low budget early SSF when you don't have good jewels yet, obviously.
Yeah.
But also later, it could be worth it on some. Like I have played builds before where the Watcher's Eye was mediocre, and I didn't need a timeless jewel, and I would actually consider this because this is essentially 40% less damage taken if you have good recovery. Taking some damage 4 seconds later doesn't really matter. Like when you know you got hit a lot, you just disengage for a moment, heal, like make sure the second hit doesn't kill you 4 seconds later, and then this is an absurd amount of defense.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it almost makes you twice as tanky. Like, it's absolutely absurd amount of tank. And if you can still use 2 joules per large passive that you use, so easily 4 joules in your build probably, right? So you can still use all the good stuff, like Watcher's Eyes, Forbidden Joules. What else is there? Rare Joules, I suppose, but it would only disallow you from using Timeless and Light of Meaning. And I think that's almost
unnatural,
always worth it.
I guess.
Sure.
That depends on the wording. That's the whole. It's
but you can still use your Storm Shroud, yeah.
No,
So
well,
that's what I was thinking of.
not if the passive tree counts as the entire passive tree.
Yeah, obviously,
yeah.
right? But we are assuming if it works.
If it works, then there's
individuals,
very little downside. I just it doesn't really seem like there's much downside.
Yeah, if you can still use those jewels in large cluster slots, then yeah, this will be used for like half the builds. I feel like.
Yeah, I think it's absurd. It's just like it's so powerful. But if the wording doesn't work like that, then maybe.
Defense on this is absurd.
I mean, you cannot use this on ES builds, right?
You think so? Just because Light of Meaning?
Because I know I'm talking about that
lose life.
Yeah.
Lose
it's
life
only for life-based builds.
Yes.
It's only for life-based build, yeah. So this kind of maybe like makes me to believe that it actually works.
The end of the ES era.
You know, to like give live builds more max and like,
you could I don't know what you would, but you could take I'm still don't see anywhere where it says you can't dip into two bloodlines, just for the record. But if you could, hypothetically, if you grab Schizophrenic Dissociation, you could also grab the what was it, the Trial Master left side thing. They gave it that blood barrier, and you could have the meaty blood barrier plus the schizophrenic. You know, you'd be like life ES. How dare you? Rude.
They don't allow mixing these, like 99% sure.
Well, you know, somewhere it says
it specifically explained how they made them have 6 mods tops, or 6 ascendancy points tops, right? So that you can't change your entire tree into a bloodline. But if you allowed multiple bloodlines, then people could make entire bloodline builds and make your class irrelevant. And that's what they specifically wanted to avoid.
That's fair. The other node, so Manic Episodes. This is the Embrace Madness Glorious thing. There's a whole build around this. It's I think I have the picture.
We have to discuss this in combination with the boots, because this is exactly the same thing as these boots, and this is a whole complicated mechanic.
Yeah, I'll find the Reddit post that has the picture. If you want to start talking about stuff, you can feel free.
I mean, I can explain the concept of this is that you this Embrace Madness skill gives you a debuff every 2 seconds out of a list of 4. One of them is increased damage taken, and I kind of forgot what the other ones were. There's just a couple downsides that you stack up. And the longer you have this Embrace Madness skill active, the worse it gets. And then it has a specific upside. There's different versions of these boots. One of them gives you, I think, double damage during the effect. Another one gives you, I want to say, all damage can poison. Like, there's a bunch of upsides. I don't have them all in my head right now.
Yeah.
But the whole puzzle about this build playstyle is that you have to deal with these stacking debuffs. So you could either have a build that just doesn't care about most of these debuffs, because they're not, like, the only one that is generically bad is increased damage taken. You obviously never liked it on any build, but a lot of the other ones are ignorable on certain characters. Or you could stack increased debuff expiration rates, so that the debuffs expire faster, like so fast that they can't stack up to a crazy amount. And that's probably the more interesting way to build around this. So you would have to combine this with uniques like Stasis Prison and get hundreds of % of debuff expire faster, and then the debuffs don't really stack up to more than like 1 or 2. And you get all of these upsides more or less for free. Well, free as in you still have to use shitty boots, and you have to use this Ascendancy and a bunch of uniques that make debuffs expire faster.
I have it on screen now. It's a cacophony of interactions, but
it's basically a whole build, yeah.
It even uses Veil of the Night to go around, like, you know, all these sort of things, and there's a Rune Graft, there's the Affliction Shield, the Leaf one, with you could do trauma stacking, and there's like no downside. It end up with like 500,000 EHP and like a ton of damage, but it's like craziness. It's league start friendly. Long story
Like,
short.
essentially, this ascendancy here is just if you're already trying to build around these mania boots that got buffed this league, then you might as well toss this ascendancy on.
Yeah.
Because it adds an extra debuff thing, right? This mania debuff makes enemies take increased damage, have reduced action speed, reduced recovery. So it's just an additional small buff to that boots playstyle, building around these unique boots that got buffed. But if you're not planning to build around that, irrelevant ascendancy.
Yep. On the other side, you have grants level 20 Misty Reflection skill, hallucinogenic tendencies, which says you dash backwards, leaving a short-lived mist copy of yourself. The copy can be damaged by enemies, and copies that are killed by an enemy will apply a debuff in the area that makes affected targets take 30% increased damage and deal 30% less damage for 4 seconds. That sounds great.
Yeah, we need more info though, right?
Yeah, I mean,
what is the cooldown? What
is it an
the
instant
range?
cast even? Is it a
Yeah.
cast time?
Yeah,
There's
it's
definitely
like
a
low
world where this is
cooldown.
good.
Yeah, exactly. It can be useful. I think it's like kind of nice actually if you can actually use it properly.
A big buff.
If you can reliably put this debuff on your map bosses, making them deal less damage and take 30% increase, and this is definitely worth ascendancy.
That's a big buff.
But I mean, if it's hella clunky to use, or maybe it has maybe it's hard for this copy to die because it doesn't get aggro. Who knows, right?
Mhm.
There could be so many things to go wrong.
Yep.
Or are clunky about this, or maybe it has a 30-second cooldown. Like who knows?
Yeah, like shade form. It's gonna be like 45 seconds of waiting for it to be doing anything. Yeah. Very cool. So let's go on next to Katarina. This is Legi's favorite one.
Oh my god, I love this one.
Minions.
It's the
minion one?
best.
Yeah, I'm
Yes,
gonna
so many
tap out
minions.
of this discussion as well. I don't really know much about this.
There's some. I could go over quickly. So there's the one prolonged servitude. Minions deal 15% more damage while they're on low life. They can't be killed but die 6 seconds after being reduced to 1 life. So there's no. I mean, that's just pretty vanilla. It's just they do more damage when they're on low life. Low life is 50% or less. They can't be killed but 6 second linger after being reduced to 1. So it's like the medium cluster. That says they just was a last gasp or whatever, kind of built in. That could be fun.
Funny thing is, actually, one thing I just noticed: you are on low life if you have 50% maximum life
50,
or less.
Yeah.
That's wrong, isn't it? It should be 30. No.
No,
Change
they
it to
buffed it to
30 or
50
35.
PoE once, huh?
Yeah.
Did they?
Yep.
Didn't they change it back or something?
No.
It's PO.
No.
Sorry.
PoE 2.
I'm thinking about I'm thinking about the better
Blood.
game. My bad.
That's okay. And the other one, Death Offering, which is 50% increased effective offerings, which is tremendous, right? So we can just stop reading there. But then you have to keep reading, unfortunately. Sure. It says offerings kill affected damageable targets when offering duration expires. So if you did pick up the Necro thing,
Lighty.
I should restart it.
You should leak start it yourself.
Like the suicide build where I pick up the Necro thing and make it affect myself. And I just walk around killing myself.
Yeah, but you're going to deal so much damage for like a
in the video game. No,
I do love it.
It would be insane.
Yeah, so it's yeah, I mean, I don't really know if this is remotely good. I mean, it'd have to be buffing things that are... So offerings kill affected damageable targets when offering duration expires. If you were to pick that up and then pick up prolonged servitude, they cannot be killed but die 6 seconds afterwards. So you can hypothetically have a scenario where you're buffing a temporary minion, like a Skelly Mage or whatever, right? And then they gain the 15% more damage. They still have last gasp or grasp, whatever, and they have increased like spiritual offering. I could see that being an interaction.
I mean, memes aside, that's kind of the direction they want to go for. Like,
I would assume so.
You stuck like offering duration on yourself or in some way. I don't know about offering duration and like refresh it. So just juggle the offering so it never expires.
Yep,
that would be funny.
Or what's it called? The Spectre raise. Was it Spectres? Not Spectres. Phantoms.
I thought this was mostly a way to instantly team kill your minion so that it can minion instability explode.
You could do that too. Yep, you could do that too.
Just have like a whole zoo of like,
there's a whole other question within here. So in amongst the affliction, the Asmiri specters they added, one of them was called Dark Marionettes, which after 4 seconds bring themselves back to life. I'm really curious how those are going to interact with the fact that when specters die, they now are in orb form. and they only come back to life when you've changed areas. Is it still going to just make them come back, or is it just not work? Or could be. I'm not sure how
Probably
the
would
interaction
still
works.
work.
Who knows? The other one that I've actually seen talked about in category, the one I'd be interested, if anything, amongst these, is Umbral Army, because it has some interesting buffs for non-minion builds, which is like one of them being 12% increased defenses per raised Spectre. That's a lot of percent defenses on Spectre builds, because you're at, 10 Spectres or whatever with the helm and such. So that's like a non-negligible amount. The movement speed for summon Phantasms is interesting, because Phantasm's typically a cast when channeling build if using like the staff. So you're reaching, 20 Phantasms if you're overcapped. That's a lot of movement speed. It kind of offsets the thing there. Increased attack damage per zombie. I can't imagine ever attacking with a zombie build, but it seems interesting for like a Zoomancer type thing. There could be something, but I really just the Spectre
Just
one.
the defenses per Spectre is what everyone's
really
hyping
anything
up here, right? Because you have like 12 Spectres nowadays, and then they just get so much ES from it.
You can play like Dark Monarch and stuff, right? With it, obviously.
None of these are like, I mean, even if I wanted to play a minion build, I don't even know if I would necessarily grab these, aside from Umbral Army maybe as a final node, but yeah, even then it's still kind of questionable for me. But minions, TLDR. Let's move on to the Crystal King, which is a kind of weird one. He only got 2 sides, kind of like Trial Master. It even looks strange because his circle for his art is just so empty. There's just nothing on the top part.
I feel like this one has a high chance of seeing some last minute buffs. Because
yes.
Spoiler alert,
think so.
These are very weak.
I think the charged up is, well, let's talk about the right side first. Let's talk about the Relic of the Pack, not Relic of the Pack side. So the Crystal King, that's his name. These all actually all, by the way, have little meme names. So the actual ascendancies do have names. So like the Delirious Bloodline is called the Imposter. All is called the Primordial Knight because he is old as fuck, trapped in Delve.
They're not meme names. That's just how your character is gonna be called, I think.
Correct.
Or it's gonna be.
That's what they're called. They're just names for, like, people don't know who All is. I would say 90% of players never fucking fought a Crystal King. So it's like they were like, who's All? Where do I find him? What is Delve? Crystal King? What that? But he's a cool dude.
You kill All, and then your character becomes a Primordial Knight.
Yeah, that's kind of hot, right? Yeah. He's got a really cool. I like his small node though. 15% global defenses. Nothing wrong with that. And then the right side. So Precursor's Release. It's a bunch of stuff that has to do with if your items have no socketed gems. So you get action speed can't be modified below base for boots. Can't be stunned for helmet. Elemental ailments cannot be afflicted on you. So not damaging elemental ailments, full stop. So better than a assassin, confirmed. And then take no damage from extra crits. All 4 of those things on one ascendancy is really strong. A little downside, just a minor.
Can't use any gems.
Minor fine print. You can't use really any gems for most places. However, there are builds like Relic of the Pact that only uses like 3 gems. So
that's not because of they don't hate. It's not like they hate gems. It's just because they use this unique amulet that gives you life per empty gem slot.
Yep, the Affliction Amulet.
So
yep. So
that's the King of the Mist, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if that build is already reaching these qualifications, on which non-typically Scion can be used for Relic of the Pact is like not uncommon. Let me just talk about how Scion actually has high benefit from this. I could just see Relic of the Pack builds grabbing this. But
yeah, for sure.
Would it be worthwhile on any other build, a normal build?
The only reason to use this outside of that, in my opinion, is the action speed immunity.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's similar how the other action speed immunity with the Spectre worked earlier. On the Spectre one, you probably have to use some kind of link to keep that Spectre alive on the Feral Ascendancy. Yep. Now you just don't use any gems here instead, and then it's consistently always active. And you can also use it for freeze immunity then.
Yep. If there's some uniques that also preclude you from that just don't have sockets. Or like if you have a Calm's Heart, right? no socketed gems and a Calms that you already have no socketed gems. So you just get
True.
elemental ailment immunity for Calms hard builds. And then it
Yeah, that's
becomes,
fair.
and then the opportunity cost then like lowers to where it's like, oh, I already have it. Maybe I just drop my boot sockets and then just become action speed immune on top of that.
Yeah, fair enough.
I could see that.
I was mostly
being a
thinking
thing.
of using this occasionally.
Yeah.
If I'm going to do content where I'm going to be action speed slowed, so tier 17 maps, or if I use risk scarabs, even though they've been nerfed to only being one, so it's kind of rare, but you might still get surprised by action speed slowed. So maybe a map is really well rolled, you want to roll over it. I would probably just use this only situationally for that. But I mean, that's really nice though.
Yeah, it's not
So we have this option.
super niche like everything else we discussed, but
yeah, I agree with Manni. Like this is pretty much like how I would envision it myself using it. And like nice thing about boots is like you usually like in endgame builds could like toss a abyssal socket into your boots and it's like it's good. So why not?
Yeah, fair. We didn't talk about that, but abyss socket should still work. Yeah, so you could even use your unique boots that have 2 abyss sockets and still be action speed immune. Or you could use the gloves that have 2 sockets and still be crit immune. Just have to give up 2 sockets then. But
yeah,
probably want to use multiple of those together to really make it worth to use this permanently. So like Chaos Hard build makes like you said would be the only one that uses this permanently probably.
Let's talk about the charge side. I hate these, but let's talk about it real quick. You get to pick one of these 3, and they all have a thing where they give you increased offensive and then a defensive aura effect depending if you have no or maxed. If your maximum is 0, right? If you run 3 fragilities, for example, you're at your max and at 0 you get both effect.
That's never worth. Don't even talk about it.
That's a huge amount of cost. So I think this is like a mega.
Don't bait anyone.
You don't think it's good either, Legi? Like totally fucking shit, or do you think there's some hidden?
That's one.
Okay.
I mean, okay, I will talk about one.
Devil's advocate.
Like I heard Manni talk about it, and I thought it was fair. Like if you want to like turbocharge one like rough aura, like that's the only thing. Like get like giga rough aura, like and get all the effect on it. Like, just one big aura, and like maybe, but probably not.
So some Sublime Vision build or something, or
yeah, exactly. Supreme Ego, Sublime Vision. You can stack something like 100 to 200% increased effect, and then Supreme Ego gives you more effect of auras. So it's a bit like the Lucia Herald thing, where you stack increased and more effect, and then you can get one aura to hundreds of % increased effect.
Yeah, maybe like an Energy Blade, Discipline Wrath. Like, have you one that scales off of both points of it, or I don't know, something like that. But
or like maybe like an armor stacker or something. Yeah.
All right, pass. We'll do so. The last one. So Runesmith, which is all Roth. He's got some.
It's all Ward related, so extremely insanely niche.
It is. The one thing that really stood out to me amongst this is just the 5% chance to restore ward on hit, but well, any of these you like? I mean, there's the ward shatter, which does an amount of damage and a debuff. The enhance, which lets a chunk of it bypass. And you get more.
I think
ward.
the bypass is worth talking about because like the ward builds, obviously, like how ward works is that like it breaks completely when you get hit, but like small hits would bypass it. So there's a way to like kind of balance it with like maybe Defiance of Destiny or something like that. But it's like I didn't put enough thought about it to see if it's good or not. But it is definitely a big buff to ward.
Yeah.
In a sense, so you could make those builds work. I think with those ascendancies, just people gonna come up with it and muff it out later, probably. But I don't think about it personally.
The one little thing that made me a bit excited about Ward is the spell suppression nerf that we haven't mentioned yet.
Correct.
But
we'll get to that in a second.
It kind of makes dodge better comparatively, and that's how Ward becomes good. Is the idea of avoiding a lot of hits, right?
And then you take one big one and eat your ward, and you're fine.
Gotcha. Because typically every spell suppression build doesn't avoid a single spell. They get hit by everything, and Ward would always be off. But if you actually go back to the old days of having evasion and spell dodge,
the
and you
Kintsugi days.
never get hit kind of build, then Ward becomes relevant.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't really still see anyone using this, to be honest.
Yep. All right, that was all the bloodlines we've talked about. Well, another one will be out eventually, and we'll get to that. moving on quickly, you both are you're both playing trade on launch.
No, I'm gonna stick to SSF.
Okay, so it's just Legi. Are you
Yeah,
excited
I'm
about
playing
async trade at all, or does that matter to you?
I would say that async trade is like one of the main reasons why I went trade as well, because I was like toying with the idea of going trade because like I did finish my unique collection this batch and was like, oh, okay, I want to do something else. So yeah, async trading I think is gonna be really good.
Just quality, just quality of life to be able to not have to deal with a lot of people.
Yeah,
just,
like or just insta buying something or like mass valuing uniques because people are gonna put those like small uniques that normally like you wouldn't message people for like 1 chaos. Like I don't know, I wanna grab a prism weave on league start.
Yeah,
might cost 2 chaos. I wanna buy it for
cost
like
2 chaos and 3,000 gold.
I mean, yeah, I guess so. That is a definitely opportunity because gold is always like extremely important. But like in trade league, like you can always like generate a lot of gold if you know what you're doing.
You know what you're doing. Something they did add are the quality of life features in this upcoming patch. There are any of the quality of life features, did any of them stand out to you as being particularly important? We'll start with you first, Legi. You could skip the async trade because we just talked about that. But any of the quality of lives they showcased were like, wow, that's a great change.
I would say the alteration one is like super nice. I like
swapping between the alteration and augmentation with pushing the key. Okay.
Yeah, it's so nice. And obviously like the heist one is like okay as well because like it speeds up your like early heisting like
saves you a couple hours.
Like what I mean, not only that, but also like one very niche thing that can happen on the Exile is like you sometimes pick up the heist notes for like money reasons, like in trade league economical reasons, or just because heist is just good and it's a very good way to get a 6 thing as well early on and stuff.
Yeah.
But the problem is, like it costs markers, right? And you have like level rogues that like takes time, and they are all already leveled. The thing is, like sometimes you're just gonna get a full reveal blueprint, and then to run that thing, you have to like spend hours leveling your dudes, and now you just put it in, and it's like super good.
Yep.
So yeah, it's a huge buff.
Nice. I'll get to you in a second, man. I just want to add that for me the biggest quality of life that I saw from this is probably the bestiary ones. That's one I think I cared about the most, which is just that you could itemize beasts without having to buy orbs, and it's really easy. And you could do it from the bestiary menu even. That's like 1/2 of my complaints about bestiary. The other one is like the actual beast limit. That is an unknown amount of beasts, but I think itemizing beasts, especially for trade, that'll be really interesting. And then I like that one a lot.
Funny thing is, like, I wanna jump in on that because, like, if you itemize a beast, you can sell it for an alchemy orb. So, like, if they didn't change it, like itemize them for free and get alchemy orbs.
You could
so
you could generate
it would be really funny. Generate alchs instead.
How about you, Manni? Any quality of life things you liked?
The stack deck one is my favorite one.
Oh yeah,
because for leagues I've been dreading opening stack decks. I've opened so many hundreds of thousands probably over the years. I'm so over it. And I oftentimes didn't even loot them anymore.
Not to rain on your parade, but they didn't answer the question about how it's going to work with moving, because as it stands right now, if you were to open up 20-30 stack decks in an instance while standing still, it's going to prevent you from opening more than that because it's occupying the area around you in the ground.
But then that's okay. The moving isn't so bad.
That part annoys me, honestly, is I have to keep moving around. If I'm opening up thousands in King's March, I'm just like running in circles,
Yeah, I mean the bad part is obviously that the right click into left click, it just kills my hands if there are hundreds of them.
But yeah,
I'm actually excited to do stack deck farming strats a lot more.
Sure, yeah.
The ritual, whatever.
They were shadow nerfed obviously because of that change.
No, there's no way.
Shadow nerf government, shadow wizard gang they got in there. From the patch notes, I mean, we can talk for hours. We're not going to. We're going to talk for like another 20 minutes here, but there's so many changes from the patch notes. So let's just boil it down to really concentratedly. We'll go Legi, then me, then Manni. Legi, is there anything and we're going to talk about our starter builds and then like what we have planned for League Start, and then we'll do the Q&A, so that'll answer other stuff. But is there anything from the patch notes, Legi, that stood out to you that you want to discuss that we haven't discussed yet? Either a buff or a nerf or anything like that.
I mean, Manni mentioned that briefly. Is like suppression nerf. It was interesting, very unexpected, but it happened, I guess. So
Yeah.
there's that. Honestly, like the patch notes were very lukewarm, really. Like kind of nothing happened there. Like the one thing that stood out for me is like I thought they're gonna take this approach, and it was like super surprising to me. It's like they took the volcanic fissure of snaking behind the shed and like put some
I don't know why they
things
nerfed that
into it.
skill. I'm surprised,
But they didn't like touch overexertion
yeah,
support. Like
yeah.
that's like the weirdest thing for me. Like like it's above the archetype. It's like blatantly broken. It's like nope, this guy. We hate this guy.
Yeah,
Because,
Earthshatter was, I think, already
people.
better than they
Yeah,
didn't nerf
it
that,
was.
and it's like, okay, sure. But
Other than that, like as I said, like I had small expectations
Mhm.
from the patch, so like that's kind of what I expected. But they did surprise me on like a content line, right?
Sure.
Balance, like whatever.
The one thing I'll talk about is the Atlas passive tree changes. I was surprised to see, and this was like a bit of a three-pronged attack, I guess. The nerf to, quote unquote nerf to ground loot, and I'm assuming the nerf to ground loot is going to be offset by whatever we get from the tree. So ultimately, the tree and the womb stuff, like whatever that adds, will most likely just make this a negligible anything. This is actually, I think it's a big nerf to standard if you really play that fully. But
yeah, I don't know about that, man.
we'll see. So there was like the nerf to risk scarabs, and then there's the nerf to edifice, and then there's the nerf to these nodes are the one that I was actually most surprised about, which is most of the 3% increased effective explicit modifier nodes on top of map modifiers already being nerfed, so they're giving you less stuff. Now give you increased rare and magic mobs, and then the one gives pack size. That I was a bit surprised about, just to see these in general. I'm just curious how it's going to feel, if mapping is going to feel like substantially flaccid, or it's just going to be irrelevant versus like how much loot we're getting from the leak mechanic. That's the one thing I'm more curious about from the patch notes. Manny, how about yourself? Anything from patch notes you want to specifically reference?
Well, I was going to talk about the loot nerfs as well.
Oh,
like
you
it
go
just
for it. Yeah.
started. Yeah. The nerfs to ground loot are going to be actually massive, I think, at least for the end game.
Yeah.
You probably don't notice it much during the Alk and Go stage, but like going over to rolling 17s in these memory maps for more currency and stacking up the map effect and like doing the strats like what we did before Edifice and Risk Scarabs and so on, all of that is completely thrown out the window now, to the point where I expect this league to be mostly just farming league mechanics. I don't think we're gonna really expect to get much loot from ground loot.
Yeah.
It's gonna be all about farming league mechanics, farming stack decks and stuff like that.
It isn't a bad thing
honestly,
necessarily. It's just a change of pace. I mean, it's like Legi?
I would say like people, remember Calandra, what happened in Calandra, like how it was bad at the start. It's not gonna be that, but like it is like substantial. So like people think it's like not very impactful. Like stuff will change, which is okay. Like they did mention in the Q&A that they wanna do like, endgame rework next patch. That's what I wanna focus on.
Yeah.
But like it is can be understood how big of a difference it is compared to the last league when it comes to like ground loot.
Yeah,
It really is a big
feel it.
difference.
You gotta keep in mind we also lose the mercenary that gave us 50% more loot essentially for currency drops. Like
It's
all
gonna
of
be a
those
lot,
compounding is gonna make currency drops like 90% lower.
You're just gonna be
In
running
those
grand
juice maps,
heists,
right?
that's
Big
fine.
asterisks.
I do think you're gonna be
Oh.
definitely relying on, like, to your point, I'd say early on, like that's what I'm gonna be focusing on: bestiary and heist, because it's like loot that wasn't impacted by
Yeah, exactly.
the
Or
change.
Tujan.
Yep,
Altars
Tujan,
also,
sure,
I
great.
think. The stuff that we pick up in maps is going to be like 90% red altars again, probably, when we pick up the chaos maps. That they're all going to come from there. Which, I don't hate it too much, because it's a complete change of pace again.
Yep.
The thing I actually like a lot about these loot changes is specifically the increased effect stacking being lower, because it just makes the game a bit more accessible and more build variety, right? Because we have less difficulty in these maps.
Correct.
Like having 90-something% increased effect just made maps very difficult.
17s will be a lot easier now. I mean, in general.
map mods, like the less recovery rate of life might not even hit 100% every time now, and you can actually still
actually
run
play
that
the
map
game.
mod sometimes.
Yeah. Well, also, I guess to that point, the final note from this is just volatile cores are now really a mechanic in the game and can be mitigated by all the things that they should have been able to be mitigated from before.
There's
So
a couple nerfs actually to things that
yeah,
makes
gain
the game
damage.
easier, like
Yeah.
the volatiles, but also the physis extra being
Yep.
less impactful on some monsters. So overall, this patch will be a lot easier.
Nice
Like
calm.
also the fact that risk Arabs
calm
don't
time.
stack, so you don't expect to run like 5 risk rats. Overall, our builds can be much worse this league, basically, and
Nice
perform just
relaxing
as well.
time. We're gonna quickly, before I do the Q&A stuff, I guess we'll just briefly talk about what our, oh wow, Dark Reader doesn't make this website dark at all. That's good. Let's talk about our starters real quick before we dig into the Q&A, and then I guess our finishers, we can discuss that. But Legi, what are you planning on league starting?
I am league starting Deadeye Kinetic Blast because I wanna play some Kinetic Blast in Trade League.
You've never done that
I'm
before.
gonna probably well, no, because Kinetic Blast is like really hard to league start, but I think Trade is like so OP that not gonna make a difference. Only get like borrow power.
Matter. Nothing matters.
so like I think it's gonna be fine. Like if it doesn't feel great, like I'm just gonna play bows. It's fine. Like the initial plan before like this, like they reveal how it is. It was like I just gonna play Deadeye bows and like vibe. Like for me, it's like this is just vibe league. So just kill some monsters, open some boxes, make a second build with Mage Blood. But yeah, I have not decided fully yet on that one, but that's kind of what I'm doing, I think.
Yeah, that sounds good. I am league starting Flicker Strike Berserker, which is very possible. It's totally fine now after like the Berserker changes and such. It used to be very hard to sustain Flicker, but between the striking again and then the masteries and then multi-strike, so pretty much once you get to Act 4, you're just good to go. And that build will be really easy to do in SSF, even because it can use Bronze Lith is incredibly powerful for that build. Plus 5 gems, 100% increased damage. Tier 4 unique, Carnage Heart, super good. Tier 5 unique, Tano Ahi is super good. Tier 5 unique, Darkrai Vectors really work well. Tier 4 unique. So it's just really low to build, comprised of really easy to low tier uniques, and a lot of them have all res and such. So I'll be playing that, and then I'll be swapping after Atlas is done. I'm just gonna kind of honestly wait to see what Falborn uniques are, and then probably snag something there, and then if not, then yeah, maybe it'll just be into like a some OP Scion Wander, which is not uncommon. But I would like to use a Falborn unique. I'd like to use a Bloodline Ascendancy. But yeah, doing Breach with Flicker would be really easy and fun. So I'm gonna focus on that. How about yourself, Manny? What starter build you got going on?
I'm 100% set on league starting as a Reap Ignite Elementalist.
Okay.
I've played that build briefly, like around a month ago in a private league, and had so much fun clearing with it, with the Obliteration, Ignite, Pops, and Prolifs.
Yeah,
it's just
that framework is so good.
Godly. I love it.
You
it's
like
so
that?
fun.
Have you tried EK of the Massacre on Elementals with explosions?
No.
Okay, I did that this league, and it's comically strong, like for clear.
I have so much increased AoE on an Elementalist between Heart of Destruction and the Flame Golem that I don't really see any reason not to play an AoE skill.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Obliteration so
farm
strong,
a lot of Expedition
though.
with that, or other things that are good now. Since we don't have there's no rush in going to C17s and memory maps, I think, with the nerfs to the loot there. So I'm going to be doing a lot of tier 16 league mechanic farming, get ready for a second character, which I don't know what it will be yet, though.
Yeah.
Definitely want to play a Wander later, too, but I play that every league.
I think we're all going to play a Wander.
Not really a Wander
something new.
change-related thing. Just like a nice Wander.
You're going to be on team wait for a Falborn unique to be good? Maybe something there?
I mean, those are complete question mark, right? We have no idea what to expect.
Yeah.
And even if one exists, are we going to actually find it? I don't know. I would definitely love to use the Bloodline on my second character, like maybe the 5 max res Trial Master one, or the 40% less damage Jelly one, like one of those
Trial Master
strong defensive ones.
Definitely the one I just think it'd be the funniest to have it's just the Val skill stuff Val skills are very fun to use, and they're typically really absurd for clear. So I like the idea of that. Speaking of questions,
sure.
we have some Q&A stuff. I'm gonna just grab some of these because we're not gonna do all of them. So the first one is, what do you hope to see from the new uniques? So the new, well, there's uniques from, we don't really talk about them, from the new Ubers. We've only seen, I think, 3 so far. There's the Retaliation Shield, the Prismatic Hit Sap Ring, and then the Poison Mjolnir Dagger. But, I mean, hope to see. The only thing I really hope is that they didn't shift any uniques around without announcing it again and massively change rates, because that's like, to me, that's like the most inexcusably shady sort of thing ever. All they would have to do is add one line of the patch note that says we've adjusted boss loot. That could be those 4 words, and I would be like, I understand. You don't have to say less. But I just hope that there's no more shadow changes like that. That irks me. Anything you guys are looking for specific from new uniques this league? Legi, man?
I mean, probably.
Yeah.
Would love to see builds uniques that make life-based builds more competitive.
Yeah.
We already have some Bloodline tendencies that kind of could do that, but maybe there's some other Uber boss unique that is like on the level of Progenesis that just only works for life-based builds, so that you don't feel as forced to go stacky as for the very high content. But then on the other hand, there isn't even that much crazy high content anymore with the nerfs to the strats and the effect stacking and risk scarab. So kind of just play whatever you want this league anyway, probably. I don't think I'm going to feel forced to play the meta as much.
Legi, how about yourself?
That's a tricky part. As I said with Falborn innings, like we don't know what like Falborn inning is gonna be. So like that's the main part I'm looking forward to.
I guess I'll rephrase the question for you. Is there even a unique that you think is missing base type wise that you'd like to see? Like, for example, there's no absurd Fizzbow. That's like an Uber unique, like something like that.
I don't think that would be interesting, honestly. Like for me, as I said in the Falborn discussion, like I would love to have like another like big Gamba unique, or like something that can give us keystones on
okay.
or like jump on the tree stuff. Like that's the unique.
So really kind of like the Jewel from this current expansion, like something that not like a Watcher's Eye maybe, but something that has a variable roll pool where it's just like.
Actually, funny part is because like I think you mouse hovering over the unique that I think is one of those uniques, like the sap ring. I think this is not exact thing that you're saying.
Yeah, it's
like,
sap,
this
brittle,
is like Dark Monarch,
Scorch,
like brittle, Scorch, different skills. I think that's what, and like the roll is gonna be really varied, like on all Eul's valve, like 0 to 30 or something like that. I think this is one of those. So
yeah,
I think that unique gonna be fun.
Yeah, nice. That's a good question. Are there any particular uniques you want to see Falborn versions of? We kind of talked about this, but.
Kikazaru, obviously.
Yeah, we all said Kikazaru. That's the answer. Yeah, does this league feel like GG is testing PoE2 systems under the hood again? I mean, that's just the entire game at this point. There's anything that would fit in PoE1 that is in PoE2 will just that'll always be.
I feel like they kind of learned from PoE2, because Abyss was a mechanic that had like 10 different layers to it in PoE2. It had like a crafting and a bit of a meta progression, all of that. And it had the encounter in maps, but then also the underground area, like so many different facets to it. And the new Breach is kind of the same thing, right? It has so many different layers. It has 4 different types of encounters and boss fights. And then there's the crafting tree, and there's the thing on your back that's cast skills. Like it's like multiple league mechanics in one almost.
Yeah. Here's a good question. Also, because Legi's sick, this will be very appropriate. Would you clean Dodri's unwashed body with your tongue for $1 million?
Yes.
Good. There's nowhere to go but up for you. I mean, at this point.
Yes.
You're knocking on
Give me $1
million
now.
Yeah.
Do it for, where's Dodri?
Yeah. We're paying $1 million, or we get paid $1 million?
Yeah, we are
pay for that,
obviously.
I'm not sure how much you guys use YouTube, but this is a question that's kind of specific, but it might be relevant in your circles. How do you feel about the new YouTube trend where people are putting old videos behind members only paywalls.
So like sub only, basically.
Yeah. The concept of
I have a
sub-only
story
content.
about this,
Oh,
right?
perfect.
Actually,
Good.
because like I got recommended by the algorithm some YouTuber guy that does speedruns on like some obscure game that I loved, and I'll not talk about the person in the game, and like I watched like his I don't know like 3-4 videos, like was cool, like watch more, and there's like new release. Oh shit, this guy released a new video and it's behind the paywall. I instantly unsubscribed and fucking deleted him. Fuck this guy, I hate him.
Yeah.
So that's what I think about it.
Yeah. I don't
know.
It just, to me, it seems like there's plenty of ways to make money in this space, and I personally don't like that version of it. I just think it alienates more people than it attracts typically.
Yeah.
So now that Edifice is gone, what's the next best scarab farming strategy? So a strategy itself to get scarabs. That's a good question.
I would answer this with, what did we do before Edifice was a big thing? And my answer was
17s.
always the Nemesis tier 17 farm.
Yeah.
Because the idea behind this is tier 17 maps have stronger monsters in them. You know, these special monsters like Brutus, they have special abilities, more life, more tank, more damage. But they also have more loot to compensate. So the natural rares in 17s drop a lot of loot. And then you'd use those up with extra map modifiers, extra rare modifiers, and just spawn more of them with the adversary scarabs. And of course, they have the more scarab multipliers because they're tier 17s. But compared to Edifice, it's going to be a whole different world next league, especially since they also nerfed the increased effect of map mods and all of that. So what we found in one map will take hours probably to acquire next league in terms of scarabs and currency.
Yeah, I mean,
there's also one thing worth mentioning is that there's an All Flame. I don't remember it. It's like the ethereal one.
Ethereal.
Ethereal, yeah. It's very like finite, obviously, especially in a serve, or it's expensive in trade that prevents dropping equipment items. So like you can do that for scarabs, which is very good. But is really rare.
Yeah,
it's a rare one.
Speaking of rare scarabs, as I was finishing the merge stream yesterday, I was wrapping up my Trial Master farming, and I was using my preservation scarabs to get more Trial Masters, and I've never used those things before. I only had 4 from last league is all. They're so rare.
Yeah, they're like a whole magnitude rarer than the second rarest.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of standard, there was a nerf to crafting, those high Samuel simplex in upcoming
yes, there was.
So yeah, so that's a big one for trading. Actually, I think
it's going to tack on a whole other. You have to redo a whole step for crafting simplexes now.
Yeah, it's like it is expensive, so I'm probably gonna craft that in standard like tomorrow probably. I have like 700 Morgans. So
what do you think your merc is doing out on the farm? It's true, they've gone to a better place. I did feel a little bit bad stripping my mercs naked and then dismissing them yesterday. It took. I still never even found a perfect one. I mean, in 10,000.
I'm not going to take his items away. He can keep those.
Oh, they're already gone.
They're in the tab.
They're gone.
Now.
They're dead. The mercs are dead, friend.
No.
They got auto stripped.
Yeah.
Yeah, auto stripped by GGG themselves.
Yeah, Jonathan himself came in and stripped your merc. Yeah.
Okay.
What else we got here for questions? Anyone good, or are they all just shit? What's your prediction for the strongest meta build by week 2 of the league? Probably the same, something similar. Wand, whatever, in trade. I mean, ES wand builds.
In-stacking wand trickster, probably.
I don't. If you're trying to do what's absolute best, I don't really think too much has changed since last league.
Some kind of stacker.
Yeah, it's
strength and or
Mark gave a whole speech about how he doesn't like
some meta build as in like actually played a lot, because those builds aren't played by a lot of people because they cost so much.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess they're saying popular versus good, because those are not exclusive. I mean, they're not typically the same thing.
I think
I would say
more
Frost
people
was the strongest meta build last league.
Yeah.
That one is nerfed too much to be meta, I think.
You think it was nerfed too much?
Oh yeah, for sure.
From what?
A lot of ES gone from the amulet, solely to harder to get going.
That's it. I mean,
I think there was one more thing.
Got nerfed quite a bit. I mean, the custom crit one will still be popular, most likely.
The self-cast one, I don't think it was really that nerfed that much. I mean, aside from the Soul Eater thing, which again you could make work again, I went from 15,000 ES to 25,000. Sorry, 15,000 ES to 2,500 or 1250. So I lost 2,500 ES, which makes zero difference in the end game for what I was doing, like face tanking every Uber content. Like that's it. I mean, it didn't. To me, that's like a pretty negligible change, honestly, considering
I
it
mean,
was
it's
so
still
strong.
there. I didn't say it's dead. I'm just saying it's more niche now. I don't think it's going to be the dominating build anymore.
No. I didn't think it was the dominating build last league either, though. But
I think something elemental is gonna be there. Like someone will, think about something elemental is like ignites or like something assassin bullshit and with like new ascendancies. I still think elemental is like it's crazy. Like it's a crazy ascendancy. So we'll see about that.
And then I guess we'll end on one final question, which was, how do you feel Keepers stacks up in terms of hype and vibe? And I think let's say for the first time in a long time, I would dare use the word excited to play, but I'm almost excited. I'm not even gonna. Unfortunately, I have to leave on Saturday and Sunday to go to a wedding, so I want to be there for days 2 and 3. But I'll be playing all Friday, and I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to breaching again.
I think this league is a good mix of like exciting things early on, but also longevity.
Yeah.
Because there's like new bloodline classes and stuff to min-max with late game. And foulborn uniques, like long-term chase stuff, but there's also just stuff that is there right away, like the rune, the breach hands thingy on your back that have skills, and the mechanic that is in every map.
Agreed. Legi? You're
The
sick.
bummer is for me, at least, that a lot of popular farming strats got kind of nerfed, but like the game is easy, so
definitely be easier.
Kingsbar's still there, so I'm gonna be on the on the more reserved side, but I'm very excited to play though. Like the league mechanic itself, like it was I remember being hyped for like, let's say, Legion. Like I vividly still remember like being super hyped like when I seen Legion reveal, like, and nothing kind of topped it off since then. But like this was like, actually quite hyped for me. So I'm definitely excited to play.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, well that wraps it up. So that's it. We'll all be around for league launch except for me, I guess. Right? No one else. You guys are both gonna be all league win. You'll be playing Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
For sure. Yeah.
Like,
I'll be playing every day.
Watch us, or we'll watch you when you sleep. And that's that.
I mean, I still am like dilly-dallying on like the SSF start. Like I said, I'm starting trading, but it's like, dude, maybe not. Like every day.
I think if you're gonna play trade, I think playing in the start would be more fun objectively.
And that's exactly what I mean.
Because the game is typically like most volatile for potential to be overtuned, undertuned, and most things will get resolved in the first 2 weeks anyway. So I think swapping to SSF after week 2 is like kind of a play.
I mean, for me is more about like what I want to do in trade. Like that's the part I still have not figured out if I want to grind currency, which I not really want to, like do stupid builds or like just do meme stuff. Like so that's the part that I'm like, oh, I don't know, man.
Makes sense. Okay, all right, guys. Well, thank you for hanging. This will be up on YouTube later tonight, and we'll see you all on League Lunch. If you have any questions, feel free to ask us. And that's it. Podcast over. Everyone go home.
Thank you.
GG's.
Okay. Goodbye, boys.